Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's show match between Tomonius and Warpfire. I'm Tussle, your host, and with me I've got Orion, who will be helping explain why Imperial Guard are the best army in the game, and should be a good one.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I can do that, but we'll try.
we have Grey Knight Swordbearers Battalion, so one of the new Brotherhoods, particularly good with vehicles. And we're looking at potentially seeing how these Dread Knights do in action. I don't know about you, but I've heard a hell of a lot about them.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them a little bit in action, and I wish I understood it better, but they do seem to be quite effective when they can get in close.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen the Grandmaster Dread Knight in action, as we have here, but not the small one. So I'm interested to see. All right, let's should we run through the list? Let me get this up, and then we can see what we're dealing with. It is just the one detachment. It's a battalion. You have the Swordmasters and Sword Bearers. I do apologise. And you also have the need for the scoreboard, which I'm getting up just now. Give me 1 second. Apologies, guys. This is a bit late notice. Sadly, we didn't get the third and fourth place match this evening, but that will be streamed over the weekend, and we'll announce it for you. And that should be very exciting. I'm going to say Imperium. Let's look and see what they're doing. So sorry. Alright, so they haven't filled in their command points, so I can't fill in their command points. Let's do that. Guys, how many command points do each of you have?
Yes. What is it?
Right, yes. I start with 10. Have a quick look at the list just to be sure.
Alright, they rolled Surround and Destroy.
Let's go for those three.
Surround and Destory. Destory, is that to remove part of a building? I'm pretty sure it is. We got 9 and 6 going on.
Yeah.
So 6 command points, that's what you get for souping. You're not allowed to have fun.
Yep. It does generally cost you command points. Well, it always costs you command points, but it generally costs you a little bit more than you want to usually.
Yeah,
He's got a
absolutely.
patrol of.
Let's look at his list, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a patrol of.
Okay, well,
Of
so we're gonna go over
Astra Militarum. And
Alright,
maybe a vanguard of sisters?
I've just been sent the list. Short notice. Let's see what we're dealing with. That is a Vanguard of Sisters, absolutely right. Bloody Rose. You have a Canoness, Saint in the Making, Blazing Ire, and the Iron Surplice of Saint Estalia. You've got 3 units of Sacrosaints, 10, 10, and 8. 2 units of Crusaders, presumably just to do little action things. A Preacher, who is another character over there. Interesting, considering no. Wouldn't you normally take a Preacher for the Repentia?
You can take it for a couple of reasons. I mean, it depends which war hymns you take, or the hymns of battle you take.
Okay.
And so he's taken the Psalm of Righteous Smiting. So it's the one that actually buffs his own strength and attacks.
So we have a Smash Preacher.
Yeah. Very odd.
That's a new one. Alright, and Smash Canoness, Smash Preacher, and Morven Val.
Yep.
Very cool. And then to support the sisters, we have a patrol of scions, it looks like. Well, no, not scions, just gunnery experts and spotter details. So that's obviously the rerolls and the increased range makes tank pretty much necessary to make tank commanders work, would you say?
Yeah, more or less, unfortunately. I mean, it's necessary to make them work with demo cannons.
Right, because of the 24-inch range.
Mm-hmm.
Which can be a pretty brutal problem if you're dealing with anti-tank that can get you from anywhere across the board.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, we didn't cover the mortifiers either. Sorry, spotted them. 2 units of 4.
2 units of 4 mortifiers. I mean, I imagine they're just going to start on the field, keep running up the board, shooting things with their heavy bolters, and then buzzsaw anything that gets too close.
You do not want to get in combat with them if you can avoid it.
No, it tends to hurt. He's got a couple of scions here, or squads of scions here, probably just for action monkey things, potentially for holding backline objectives. We'll see what he does with them.
The ability to deep strike in for Rod.
Well, he hasn't taken Rod. He's taken them, bring it down, grind them down, and raise the banners.
Okay, so I will be updating that in the score sheet imminently.
So they're not going to be used for Rod, which makes me think they're more likely to be used for deploying on backline objectives and deploying banners.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, they can do a few things. They're just generally quite well rounded, aren't they? And then on the other side we have the Grey Knights list with
bring it down, raise the banners, and engage in all fronts.
Interesting. Obviously, you can teleport around wherever you want. Engage in all fronts makes sense for that.
It absolutely does.
Banners, because you assume that this guard list doesn't want to come fight you. Although, having said that,
I mean, what else you can do with the, like, what is that, 28 Sacrosants?
protect Morvenval a lot?
I mean, she's never getting shot this game, is she?
No, that's absolutely true. Fascinating to see the Grey Knights only having the 1 squad of interceptors. Very bizarre. Also, I need to get the dice cam sorted out. This is a bit of a shambles. Do apologise. Late notice. So let me just do that really quickly.
So he's got the 4. So he's got 1 Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight, which is a very, very scary thing. But then he's got the 3 other just normal Nemesis Dread Knights, which, they're scary, but not that scary.
Yeah, I hear that the main thing about them is they're good for their points cost.
Yeah. But they are at the kind of, I mean, obviously the heavy psi cannon, pretty nasty. But their melee's not, I mean, sure, the Mighty Strike and the Sweeping Blow profiles are okay. The Dread Fist is pretty meh.
They've got the sword. I don't know. I hear they're just cost efficient. 13 wounds,
yeah,
in particular.
13 wounds, and they're only, 170 points or something?
Yeah. They can push up. I guess they're relying in this. I mean, would you count on a tank commander to just blow one out of the field? I would have thought that would be something you definitely don't want to get involved with at this game, at least.
I mean, I think a TC should, in theory, kill one if it shoots it.
Mind you, I guess you're not building a list to deal with tank commanders. Unless you watch last season's Alpha League.
This is true. Do you have the lists available to you? Could you just post in the chat, because I don't have them yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me just a second, guys. Gonna apply that, get rid of that, so you guys can see. And then I will post both of these lists. Alright. Grey Knights. Hey, I just posted it the wrong way around. I'm doing fantastically. Well done. Grey Knights for real. There we go. That's actually the Grey Knights, everyone. Mind you, if you looked at the list and didn't notice the difference, you should probably rethink your knowledge. Imperium Sisters / God. Putting Sisters first. They're more important.
Yeah, certainly the majority of this army.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're the ones that you hope are going to do the damage. What do you think about the random Manticore?
I mean, and out of LOS shooting is really strong right now, so I see no reason why you wouldn't take it.
Because Manticores were a staple just a few months ago.
I mean, they still are.
But it's the
I mean,
-1 to hit that really hurts you.
Yeah, absolutely. Shooting on a dense, heavy map is always going to be painful with Manticore. But they are insanely effective at what they do.
Yeah. They force the opponent to come to you in a way that they don't want to, because there is always that risk that they'll hit the big box cars and it'll be 12 massive shots coming down and killing whatever you want. Again, a threat to a Grey Knight here as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that should be said about the Sword Bearers is they are the vehicle buffing list. Grey Knights Brotherhood. So I believe they can give a 4-up invul to a vehicle, which is why you would go heavy on the Dread Knights. But also, he's got a couple of Rhinos.
Yes, he absolutely does. I imagine we're going to see just a bunch of just the standard squads go into those, just to try and get them up the field a little bit and keep them protected from any incidental shooting for a turn or two.
Yeah, you generally want to be wary about killing things, transports with troops in, because you don't want the troops to come out and just steal the objective from under you. It's that onion thing. You need to have enough firepower to deal with the troops immediately, and that 4-up invul that you can give with the psychic power that the Swordbearers Brotherhood gives them just makes that not guaranteed. You could fire a tank commander in it against a normal Rhino. You'd be expecting it to die, but with a 4-up, you generally don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. So he's got what? He's got 4 5-man strike squad.
Yep.
The 10-man purify squad, and then he's got the 5-man interceptor squad.
And it
Yeah,
looks
it's interesting.
to me like you've got 4 halberds and 1 warding stave. That warding stave gives you that combat defense, if I remember correctly.
If I recall correctly, you're right. Yeah. It should maybe be on here. No.
Hey, Corvin. Yeah, I can't wait to see it in action. I'm really interested, particularly with the Sacrosants. I guess it's just they're cost effective, and so there's a lot of them, and they'll run at you. And they're kind of scary in combat.
Yeah, they're kind of scary in combat. I mean, they are what? Strength 5, AP -1, damage 2. They're okay.
Yeah, decent into Marines if you get enough shots. With the 2 damage.
Well, that's only in melee.
Only in melee, if they get there.
That's the thing. Are they going to get there?
Well, in
They're
terms
not
of
the
sorry, yeah, in terms of maneuverability, yeah, that's still
Oh
not
yeah,
critical.
that's what we're looking for. Yeah, it's not on the weapon itself, but there's a strat if you have it. Yeah.
If you are in combat for the unit, so as opposed to previously, you just needed one. You needed your squad to have them, and then it was whichever model you're taking save on. This if you have it, gives you the possibility to use that for the squad, and that means you're just much more likely to see random staves around the place, 1 per squad in everything, realistically.
Yep.
He's also gone for purifiers.
I think that's a fairly legit choice.
I mean, you get the hefty mortal wounds from purifying flame. Still, just the solid 3. Which is very, very useful. But I haven't seen them talked about much when it comes to the new codex. It all seems to be about Dread Knights and Interceptors, and we've only got 5 of those here. Interestingly.
Yeah, but I think you can overcommit on Interceptors.
that you can have too many flying infantry that can move and shoot and move and charge?
Well, they're not cheap.
That's
Like a
definitely true.
5-man squad of interceptors is 120 points.
Yeah, that's true. You go for the big 10 man, 240. And you have to think with MSU, do you want that 10 man? Do you need it?
Also, I mean, you have to remember, there's only so many places. Like a lot of armies now are teching to deal with Thousand Suns teleports and Grey Knights teleports. So they are trying to deny areas where you're going to be able to teleport into the map. So having a lot of teleports is actually can be a bit of a trap at the moment, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think we definitely we have the Dread Knight teleport away. That's something to remember. The Grandmaster
Yep.
Nemesis
He has
Dread Knight.
gate.
Well, he has the what is it? Seven of the Throne.
Oh yeah.
Which is the this big boy over here. Has the ability to, when you target it with shooting, teleport somewhere else on the map more than 9 inch away from enemy opponents. And then the thing that's shooting at you can choose something else, so you don't waste whole units, firing on him. But it does mean that first time you try and hit him with a tank commander, he's going to say nope and just disappear.
Yep. He also has Gate of Infinity, so you can slap one of these Dread Knights into Deep Strike.
Yeah, you can chuck him somewhere, and if he gets shot, you teleport him away, and if he doesn't get shot, he's doing something scary next turn. Which is one of the big plays you see. Now, one of the key things here, I guess, no surprise at all, we do have Drago. He's essentially a chapter master now. He can give those full rerolls to one unit in the command phase, which is pretty good.
He's got.
Go on.
As I say, he's also got his own Gate of Infinity. He's also got Vortex of Doom, which is not. It's not bad in terms of Witchfire. It's pretty short range, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is the issue. Interestingly, if you're one of the things you used to do as Grey Knights, so I've yet to play a Grey Knights game in 9th, but I did play a fair few in 8th. Not 8th, just the last codex. I guess I'm kind of with the 8th edition codex is what I mean. You would often want to take to the last, or while we stand we fight, with your big characters, and you could take MSU squads that did things, particularly if you were playing around purgation squads, which were just incredibly cost effective. Now you're not really doing that so much, and Tom's not doing it in this game. So someone like Drago can actually advance up the board and be a massive threat to anything he goes near with that massive Titan sword of his.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's that thing is really nasty.
Yeah, strength
'Cause it's
8, AP4.
Strength 8, yeah, damage flat 3. That's something you don't want to get hit by. And he's got a 3-up invul.
Yeah, he's one of the few.
I was really surprised to see him get that.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they thought, oh, we're doing away with 3-up invuls, but we want him to be tanky. We don't want to give him -1 damage like we've given everything else, so this was a way to keep him separate. And it also kind of buys into his super duper, I'm some crazy amazing guy who comes out of the warp, kills the scariest thing around, and then disappears again lore.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of 3-up invuls in general. I think that they are disruptive to good gameplay.
Yeah, they certainly make it harder to plan around and can spike for sure. I mean, as a Custodes player, I would happily give away my 3-up invul for double the number of wounds per model. Let's do that, GW.
I mean, yeah, that's basically what it's worth, though. It's an absurd increase in tankiness going from a 4-up invul to a 3-up invul.
That's very true, particularly with the reroll and what have you. And now, sadly, the Codex Grey Knights that I have does not have some of the data sheets. So I'm not sure exactly what some of the bits and pieces do. So I might have to mouse over them during the game. Very sadly. Rip.
Well, yeah, all of the basic strike squads are just halberds and stormbolters for days.
And then
with
you've got your
the staves in each squad as well. And
monies.
then it's,
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, it's just more purifiers are exactly the same. More halberds, more warding staves, more stone bolters. And
Yeah.
funnily enough, the interceptors are also exactly the same. It's a very samey army.
It's very true. I have to admit, it'd be nicer if there was a little bit more distinction between units sometimes.
Yeah, that's one of the problems I have with Grey Knights in general right now. Is like they've got some really good options, but it's the only option really. So it's just spam that on every single unit.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of shooting on these Dread Knights, it has to be said. 3 up shooting, 12 silencer shots, 6 heavy side cannon shots. That's where the scariness is. Looking at the chat poll, it appears most people are backing Grey Knights. I'm going to ban this person, block this person.
Well,
Go on. Oh no, but it's coming up. Sisters and Guard catching up in terms of predictions. Buddha Cookie's definitely got his money on Sister Soup. Which way do you see this going yourself?
well, the sisters do have a lot of denies. If they can get anywhere near the Grey Knights, they're just not going to be casting stuff. And that certainly might give them the edge. I mean, demo cannons versus Nemesis Dread Knights. TC should be able to blow up a Dread Knight a turn quite happily. Morven Val is obviously terrifying. I like the Sisters / Guard list more than I think I like the Grey Knights list.
Interesting. Is that just into the matchup or in general?
Specifically, I think in this matchup here. Like this Sisters list, I don't really love, but I think versus Grey Knights, it's quite good.
For sure. It's a good question, Creeper. I don't think we're using a clock.
Sisters still get their sacred rights, and the
yes.
5-up deny is a sacred right.
Yeah, it's something that I was looking into teching into my Custodes myself. We are playing Surround and Destroy. And
Which is a hold 2, hold 3?
It is, in fact, a 1-2.
It's a 1-2.
It's one of those 6 objective 1-2s.
I can never remember which is which.
I think that kind of potentially favours the Sisters here. As they don't have to spread out as much as they maybe would, but they do have a lot of MSU to move around, so I don't know, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, the main thing is obviously Sisters are not going to be generating Miracle Dice this game because they are not mono faction.
So you can't guarantee those charges.
No, you can't guarantee those charges. The Sacrosants are not particularly fast, they're not super tanky, and Storm Bolters are actually a reasonable threat to them.
I guess that's why we don't see the Repenture and the Retributors, because you can't have that 6 in your pocket to guarantee a charge, or to do that 6 damage from the Melter Shot that goes through.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going on more of a theory of, I'm just going to walk a bunch of very scary melee things into you.
Yeah.
And see how that goes whilst you're getting shot by tank commanders and manticores.
Has anyone seen the film Zulu? Because that's what the Sacrosants are making me think of right now. They're going to walk at you with their shields and their spears, and maybe it'll go better than it went in Zulu.
Potentially.
That's a bit of an old film.
So the Grey Knights have put what? So yeah, there's the big Purifier squads and one of the Rhinos, and then there's is there 2 squads of Purifiers? Did I miss that?
Yes, there are 2 squads of Purifiers, yep. Yeah, Marius, the 97s. Michael Caine. Classic.
Really? The list I'm seeing only has the 1 unit of Purifiers.
Has he snuck in?
Oh, he combat squadded it.
Yeah, he's got the 10 that he combat squadded. That makes sense.
And he's got 5, so he's got half the squad and the and a strike squad in each of the rhinos.
Yes, and he's got 2 warding staves, so he's clearly prepared for the combat squadding. Which makes sense. Well done him. I guess the option, just having the unit of 10 as opposed to having 2 of 5 means that if you want it to be that big melee unit, you have the option. If you want to split it, you also have the option. And because each Grey Knight is a psyker in themselves, that does mean you've got 2 ways to get the Purifying Flame, I believe.
And don't think they have to cast versus the. Oh, no, they don't have to cast it. They're not the same as Thousand Suns, but they have to cast with the
Sorcerer, no.
with the sorcerer.
Each model can cast the power. I've not combat squadded myself, so I couldn't say for sure, but I believe that's the way it works. Chat, you can tell me wrong if that's the case. If I was souping Sisters, I would run Zephyrin with Penance or Repentia with Repentia Superior for rerolls. Yeah, there's other ways to make those units effective, even without the Miracle Dice, for sure. But I guess it depends what you want to do with it. With the army. Considering the secondaries that Warpfire's taken, banners, grind them down, bring it down, you're definitely looking at an army that's planning on killing, holding its position and killing what comes at it, as opposed to playing around the map, looking for rod and what have you. I guess with the Scions it can, but this is definitely, or it definitely looks like a counterpunch army to me.
Yeah, no, it screams counterpunch to me. The only thing is, I think he's going to be throwing away a little bit of the points on raise the banners to basically just have the 2 banners and just sit on those for most of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thoughts on souping Sisters with Knights? I bet you have a couple of thoughts about that. I might leave you to that for just a minute, if that's okay.
Yeah. Knights are unfortunately great for souping. That's really what they're best at. Makes me very sad because I really like Knights and I would love them to be more effective as a mono faction. Sisters is one that can work with them. They can provide a lot of very cheap bodies that can help push around the map. And they can also provide some very important utility for a Knights list. But I quite like the challenge of running mono Knights in interesting ways to try and make them work at the moment. Side note, it really doesn't. You can just about make a passable Knights list at the moment, but it's not very good. I don't expect to be going out and winning any GTs with mono Knights. But Sister souping is about as good as any sort of Imperial souping. You can't really bring in Space Marines because Space Marines lose their doctrines, and there's just not much point in bringing in a Knight with Space Marines. Which cuts out a lot of the Imperium. So it's basically you're basically stuck with either Sisters, Admech, or Astra Militarum as your soup baked for Knights. And Sisters are okay with it. They don't lose too much for souping right now. They lose their Miracle Dice. But if you're bringing Knights with Sisters, you're not counting on them doing the damage dealer. You're counting on them being the utility around the board. Whereas with Admech just kind of does everything Knights want to do, but better anyway. So it's kind of like if you're bringing Knights with Admech, then you're basically just nerfing your own Admech at the moment. And with Guard, it can work with Guard as well, like using Chimeras filled with Guardsmen and just throwing them up the table while you have a couple of Megaras do some shooting and following that up. That can work quite well. You have to be very careful about move blocking your own Knights, though.
Hellhounds. Get a load of Hellhounds, deploy them on the line, throw them forward so no one wants to come into them. And then wait until you lose turn 1 and they blow up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, McPherson, Admech don't really lose anything from souping with Knights. But they lose the fact that they're spending, 500, 1,000, whatever, how many points on knights that could be better spent on AdMech units, which are just better at pretty much everything they want to do.
Yeah, if you want to kill tanks, you can take chickens. If you want to kill everything else, you can take rangers.
If you want to go into melee, you take Rust Stalkers. I mean, like,
Yeah.
literally, there's nothing in knights that there isn't basically a better option for an AdMech.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see when the Knights Codex does come out how that's got around this list, this style, which is very much either they're impossible to kill or they don't achieve anything.
Yeah, I mean, I want knights to be an interesting mono faction because that's what they're obviously pushing for this edition. They've very heavily been pushing mono faction bonuses, and I think knights are one of those armies that has been soup bait for so long that they're going to make knights very, very heavily punished for souping. That's my prediction anyway. Could be completely wrong, but just because, when you think of souping, you think of knights, and they've been trying to get rid of souping or punish souping more this edition, so I think knights are going to take a big hit to souping.
Very well put question, Philippe. Souping is when you add stuff into a pot and hope that it works.
But in the world of tabletop gaming, it is mixing multiple factions together who are allowed to be basically a one army.
Yeah.
So, for example, here we have Astra Militarum with Adeptus Sororitas, or otherwise known as Imperial Guard and Sisters. Because they both fall under the Imperium super faction, they can be both taken in the same army.
Yeah.
But they do lose a couple of bonuses.
So the thing with souping, the question with souping is always, what value do I
So
get
you
from
can
this
put
other
everything
army
else down.
that means
Okay.
that is worth the trade-off for losing my super bonus faction?
And also, notably, generally at least 2 CP for the patrol that you're going to bring.
Exactly. Which sometimes is worth, but sometimes isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Like bringing a full payload Manticore and a couple of tank commanders, at the moment, that's a great trade-off.
Yeah, traditionally you would find.
Make sure you're within 3.
You'll have to.
I'm just getting their audio up on the stream. Let me know if it's too loud and you can't hear us, or we're too, or it's too quiet and you can't hear them when they're talking in the background. Traditionally, you'd find with some armies, like say Custodes, you have elite infantry, but you don't really have the ability to screen or move around the board unless you take a particularly fast list, and so you would commonly soup in a patrol of scions to give you that deep strike, ability to rod, engage in all fronts, and then you could take a couple of manticores for long range, no line of sight shooting, which Custodes don't have. So, some factions, it's definitely worth doing, and that's the question, Bafarok. Some factions you don't lose your bonuses, and sometimes you do. Souping Space Marines, for example, is generally a bad idea because you don't get your doctrine.
I think it's gonna be you.
Okay. So that is interesting. First turn Warpfire. That is pretty big with the tank commanders and the Manticore.
Did you clear this? No. And now. Wait, now it's Belrun. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't think he's left too much exposed. I think he might lose his Nemesis Dreadnought in the back here to the Tank Commander because we're looking at 34 inches. Tank Commander can move 10, so it's not quite going to be in range.
Okay, that's +1 to advance and charge. I'll take that over the damage.
Shooting gets 1 extra. Yeah.
So his entire Sisters Army now has a +1 to advance and charge, which can be pretty big.
Yeah, shockingly, Grey Knight starting in the Tide of Shadows, as you could probably hear.
Light cover as long as you're 12 inches
So
away
that
from
changed
and
a little bit
light cover
with
while swinging close cover.
the new codex. It's light cover outside of 12 inches, and then if you are holding on a terrain, I believe you get the -1 to hit.
Can we get anything else?
And if you already have light cover, you get dense cover. That's
Yeah,
so
that's the one. Yeah, so it's not just any terrain as it used to be. That's where it changed.
yeah, it's so if you're without a 12, you get light. If you already have light, then you get dense.
No,
Yeah. So looking at the angles, obviously that tank commander on the edge was a bit of a gamble, and he can go for that Dread Knight
Yes,
up on the
bases
top
should,
right.
always be.
And then this one coming out. Can he see?
it is of course too
Yes,
far
but he's not going to be
away.
within 30 inches. Do you think that demo cannons will get a range boost?
I sincerely hope not.
Well, give yourself full
They're already so devastating. Like they don't need to be buffed.
Yeah,
What I would actually like to see is demo cannons get nerfed and some of the other options get buffed a little bit.
try to buff this.
you want the old plasma tank commander.
Free it back goes
Just
in.
make all the other options more interesting.
Also,
More of a real choice rather than it's just, oh, I have a tank commander. I'm obviously taking a demo cannon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So could get
What's the buffing thingy does?
Oh, so he's giving and to himself he's giving +1 strength, attack, AP, and at the end of the fight phase he can fight again.
So, don't know if you guys heard that. That was the Preacher buffing himself up something insane. Not going to achieve anything this turn, but still interesting. Oh, you can't hear him
Well,
at all.
it might be valid if there's some sort of teleport shenanigans and a charge goes into that preacher, because he is one of the most exposed units on that flank.
We're gonna move
Yeah,
this tank commander
that is
forward.
true.
He moved too much to claim lumbering. Okay.
You still want to get your buffs every turn, even if you're not sure if something can get into you. Just in case. Best thing to do.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to do, and you remember to do it. It's a big deal.
Later.
We've all lost games not doing that simple bit of good play that we would normally do because we were rushing.
Yep, absolutely. Or overcommitting units because you're not thinking about their threats, etc. Because you're playing too fast.
Yeah, for sure. Now, one thing I'm interested in saying, we did talk a little bit about how the Sacrosants are pretty good in melee into the kind of the Space Marine matchup, but they're also presumably terrible into bolters. They've got a 2-up save, but if they're out in the open, just the sheer volume of fire that's going to be wounding on 3s would be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Like mass bolter fire, especially if it's AP2 bolter fire, shreds Sacrosants.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
So they really do enjoy or don't enjoy the Thousand Suns matchup in terms of the shooting from the Thousand Suns. Obviously, being able to deny everything on a 5-up with every single unit in the army with sisters is a problem for the Thousand Suns in an entirely different way.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, okay.
So the Astropath here has done the -1 to hits. I imagine on the tank commander, although I didn't hear, but that would be silly not to be. And I believe there's a second Astropath hiding somewhere.
Yeah, the other one is with the preacher on the left-hand flank.
Yeah. And he's got
6.
Maelstrom. Okay. Scary psychic powers.
Maelstrom is the mortal wound spam one, yeah?
Yeah, it is, yeah. But against the +1 to deny from Grey Knights, maybe not something you'll get in this list so much.
No.
Lots of 4-ups.
Oof.
That's not very good.
Those are the wounds on the Dread Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think one extra save?
And that's where we talked about the
that
deadliness of the demo cannon.
Yeah. Currently looking at 6d6 damage coming into that Nemesis Dread Knight.
Which, if you roll badly, is just 6 damage.
Yeah, statistically unlikely.
Anywhere between 6 and 36. Let's see what we get. Oh.
That That's
Mediocre,
9.
but
Yeah, 15
is okay.
damage.
Yeah.
15 is indeed enough.
So
This
down he
explodes.
goes, and he
He does
implodes.
not.
So
One
there's
down.
175 points gone.
Okay.
And bring it
the
down.
Walter was just going to
And
go
bring it down points. And possibly grind them
Yeah.
down points.
So, other tank commander.
Yeah. Let's not forget, grind them down is generally best when you go second,
6 shots.
because you want to know how many units you need to kill. But if you do go first,
3.
like these guys do,
Ooh.
Okay.
6.
that
That paid off.
would be not great. This is this other tank commander.
Reroll the 1.
Yes, he did not get the lumbering advance, though, to be able to fire twice.
Yeah.
Or grinding advance, sorry.
Oh, right, the gunnery,
Yeah.
gunnery experts thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
never mind.
Gunnery experts. So, that's 4 saves.
4 saves.
4 up.
Oof.
Ooh,
Fails
that's another 3.
Oh, come on.
That
This might be
Okay, so maybe the
worthwhile
CP reroll
for
coming out here.
Yeah.
50-50.
absolutely.
Well, the Manticore. CP on that, a good thing.
Now the Manticore is still to fire.
2 is enough.
Yeah.
I will.
Now
Oh,
something.
it doesn't get it. So it's
Oh,
3d6 damage coming into this dread. If he rolls big, this thing's dead.
Oh no! Just off. Oof.
Oh,
By
God.
1.
Okay, he's down.
But that is severely bracketed.
He just. Did he just re-roll it? No.
No, this is storm. The heavy bolter.
Oh, this is the heavy bolter. I was gonna say that's not a damage one you want to roll.
No, sorry. 2 hits. no
So
hits.
will the heavy bolter finish it off?
Okay.
No wounds got through.
Well,
Now it is something to bear in mind. Do you want to finish it off with the Manticore? Seems a bit, maybe a bit of a waste to shoot everything into a. No,
No,
one
I think
guy?
he's going to split fire. I mean,
Once per game, I can give 3 up info.
But you risk not getting your grind if you don't kill 2 units.
this is true.
When you select
One thing just to bear in mind for those of you guys wondering about guard lists and tank commanders, if you've not made them and you love them, the spotter detail 6-inch range is what made this possible to happen. Otherwise,
Yes.
this tank commander would not have been able to shoot. Why not CP reroll the damage roll? Because you got a 6, a 5, and a 1. It's 12 damage on average on 3 dice is what 9, 9, 10. Well, 9 to 11, I believe. So you're still a bit above average, and it's not worth. I mean, if that heavy bolter hit rate had been a CP reroll, you'd be looking at 4 damage instead, or whatever, it's 5 damage instead, and a not really bracketed Dread Knight.
Also, technically, by the way that you slow roll or that you roll dice, because you already know the result of all 3 dice at that point, you technically are not allowed to CP reroll at that point.
Can you
You'd
not?
have to roll them one at a time.
You'd have to reroll one at a time. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Because you have more information that you should have for that reroll.
I'm more meant like re-rolling the whole thing, but yeah, that's fair play. But look here, you got a ballistic skill of 5 now on the Dread Knight. It's a lot less of a threat.
Previously, so well, Val. fires
Oh,
missiles.
so he shot at the Grandmaster in Nemesis, and
With, I assume, the Manticore, and then he jumped forward?
and then he didn't do anything, and then jumped forward. That's not what you want to do into a Grandmaster Dread Knight, because it will come and hurt you.
Yeah, -2, so another 3 up. Saves it.
Saves.
And with that 3 up invol that you can get once per turn,
All hits.
this is that turn.
Yeah, you get it for 1 turn per game, I believe.
Yeah, once per battle you activate it. It's a Vision of the Future, I believe.
So 2 ups.
No, that's Servant of the Throne.
That's Servant of the Throne,
What's our roll
but it is definitely. I'm trying to look, but Battlescribe keeps pinging out for me, which is sad. There you go, Servant of the Throne. Once per battle, when the bearer selects a target attack, it can use his gift. It's not the vision, it's the gift. Until the end of the turn, the bearer has a 3-up invulnerable save.
He's gonna.
You hate slow rolling for CP reroll? Yeah, I get you. Absolutely. To be honest, I think as long as everyone is playing by the same rule, it shouldn't matter that much, I guess. But
yeah,
it's
but
a fair point for
don't be
contention.
surprised if you're playing in a tournament setting and someone says, "Well, no, you can't CP reroll that. You already know the result on 4 of your dice, and the 5th, just because the 5th won't kill it, you rolled all 5 at the same time."
Yeah, because realistically that could never happen to someone else, and then you've got a leg
Like
up.
you might have rolled that one on the first dice and then seen the result that you're only one off. Like that's not. Yeah, it's understandable why somebody would say that, but you can obviously say at the start of the game, are we allowing CP rerolls on fast roll dice?
Yep.
Next to him.
As long as everyone's expectations are the same in the game, then that's perfectly reasonable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So let's have a quick jaunt over. I don't think they've marked up the bring it down.
Start with the easy one. He's gonna say it
So it should be 2 points for bring it down for Warpfire. So I'll mark it up. The score sheet is currently still as it was. No one's seen, it's fine. Nothing's changed, it's all good. Look at this shiny, shiny game in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, casual and tournament play difference for sure. And last thing you want in a tournament is someone to get that and that to be the difference. That doesn't feel great. Here's the interceptors coming forward.
Oh, did you change the VP total?
At the end of the command,
no, I didn't change the total. There you go. 2 points. There you go.
The entire battle you also
Oh, it should be automatically updating. That's weird.
I think it takes a minute. I think there might be delay, even though we've selected no delay. Pants was talking about it last stream, sadly.
Oh, no, I mean, I see it on the secondaries. I mean, that once you put it in the secondaries, it should be automatically updating the VP total, but maybe the spreadsheet's broken.
Maybe.
How are they moving 12?
They got 12-inch move and they ignore terrain.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a sum. So, appears to be. I can fix it, but now's not the time.
Rhino
No.
advance to Rhino 2.
We've got the interceptors who've come forward to take that point. Rhino's coming forward. Pushing out as far as it can, makes sense. So we're going to see the Grey Knights flooding forward.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the Grandmaster go into the Tank Commander, and
The other Rhino will advance.
I don't think the Tank Commander survives that.
D6 damage sword.
14.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, hitting on 2s.
I had my Galatus Dreadnought engage a Grandmaster Dread Knight in the Tactical Tortoise Invitational, and it got chopped in half.
Yeah, it'll do that.
It was.
So the real question is, where are the guns going?
I'm guessing you want to try and take out as many of these mortifiers as possible. But
Yeah, but you declaring both of your guns into them?
It's a good question.
Probably, but it's not definitely.
Yeah, and even then, next turn Morvenval's gonna come and she can hurt anything in the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Use
Strength 8, AP 3, damage 3.
teleport shunt
Oh,
onto this Dread Knight.
this Dread Knight's being teleport shunted for 2 command points,
Yep, I've paid 5 points.
which is an upgrade that he has, and he is shooting forward.
Gives to go just outside of 9. Tank commander.
So it looks like we are trying to get in for the big ones.
Knight is going to be sad. Very, very sad.
Get everything in. Why rely on one guy? With both of these guys shooting, do you reckon we'll be able to clear out those mortifiers? Maybe.
Yeah, with 2 Dread Knights shooting them. I mean, they are shooting through dens. And only one of them sitting on 2s.
And this.
But even then,
And he still doesn't see particularly much.
even if they don't kill them, getting rid of 2 or 3 is pretty likely.
And what will we do with Draco?
For sure, absolutely. So the Warlord trait first to the fray, which this Grandmaster Dread Knight has, +1 to advance and charge rolls.
Strike squad.
If it's made a charge move this turn, then until the end of the turn, each time a friendly Grey Knight core unit declares a charge against an enemy that's in engagement range of the Warlord, add 1 to the charge roll. So the idea is he gets into the Tank Commander, and the Nemesis Dread Knight gets in as well, or is more likely to, rerollable 8.
Because they didn't advance.
That's the new first to the fray in action here. See how it goes. And I wonder whether he'll switch to the Tide of Celerity for that even more reliable charge, changing those 1s and 2s into 3s. I don't know the maths on it, but that seems to me to be pretty decent.
Yeah, Tide of Celerity is certainly strong. He might. I mean, there's always a chance he goes into Tide of Convergence.
Yeah. That's true as well.
But I don't think it's really necessary this turn.
No, because you're not getting the melee units with the lots of attacks in. You're getting the Dread Knights in, who are scary enough anyway, and it's more about making sure that they get into combat.
No. The librarian will stay where he is. And we go into Psychic
Here we go, Psychic Phase, the big phase, which they're not as good at anymore.
Yeah, sadly, they're better at stopping it than they are doing it now.
I will start with the.
Let's see what he's gonna do. So the other sword bearers thing that they have,
We will start with the librarian at the back.
Oh.
He will cast
Sanctuary and the Librarian,
Okay, well, he's
to
too
be
far away.
expected. The Grandmaster Dread Knight, this is going to be the interesting one. The psychic power that the sword bearers get is
not
a
enough.
+1 to wound
Let's reroll
that you can select an enemy unit for, and any sword bearer's vehicle that makes a ranged attack gets that +1 to wound against that unit.
And
Mm-hmm.
we are going to put that on the Rhino.
4 up invul on that Rhino on the flank. We talked about that.
Then
Yeah, it's gonna make it a lot harder for that tank commander to try and remove that next turn. Though that tank commander might be a little bit too busy dealing with the Peregrine Nemesis Dread Knights.
Absolutely. Big old distraction Carnifexes. Guarantees 6-inch charges and averages out a +1 to charge from 6 to 9-inch charges. So, being a 9-inch charge, gone down to an 8-inch charge. If you're saying it's equivalent, roughly equivalent to a +1, then you're making a 7-inch charge. So on average, you would make it.
I mean, with it, if he goes into Celerity, then it's he only needs a 4 on one of the dice to get in.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty reasonable, like, what's that? That's like a, what, over 75% chance.
Drago will use his
Drago's gating?
Casting gates, and then for potential supporting powers, then he's gonna just cast damage. Yeah.
Yes, unless I.
Okay. Well, go for it.
See if it goes off. Does go off. Drago's not bothered.
Goes off on a 9.
Enough. Where is he going?
That is the next question. Where do I want him?
Remember, folks, don't drink and gate. They can.
Well, that's the big question: is where's he gonna put it? Is he gonna go? I guess he's gonna go over here and support these Dread Knights.
I guess. He gave himself the buff, so clearly Drago's in it for himself, thinking he's going to be the big boss.
See where I want
Throwing 3-up invols into the opponent.
Yeah, he does need to have visibility to his targets.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, he wants to cast Smite.
Yeah, I think he's looking just to Vortex of Doom here.
The other two
Yeah.
Smite also needs line of sight.
Okay.
Guys, is there any way to stop the TTS RAM problem? Both of 8 give a RAM, but on turn 3 or something, games start to act like a 70-year-old grandpa.
We'll have him here just to make.
Yeah, Battlescript of TTS has some issues, especially if you leave the.
Assuming he's kind of dead.
There's a checkbox button.
Yes.
Deleting the models I've found is the worst thing you can do. I try not to delete
yeah.
anything from Battlescript TTS.
Deleting models causes memory leak. But also, if you turn off the
Use your reroll. So,
there's a coding thing. Enable scripting. If you uncheck that when you're making your armies, that can also help with RAM issues.
Clinadev, that's a very generous offer for you. In fact, if you provide the drinks, I'm imagining your win rate would skyrocket.
amplification. What was that? Gives him damage. What is extra damage?
+1 damage to psi and
And nemesis weapons. So it goes off on a 9.
okay. In that case, I'll
Now we're going to get the auto deny from the Sacred Right on the Empiric Amplification.
yeah, I'll pick this unit of Sacrosanct to the Knight. I need a 6.
And he fails.
Nope. Because I was greedy.
Yep. I will go into the modifiers.
So it looks like the modifiers are probably going to eat both of these Dread Knights. He's getting a lot of side cannons, I think, shot at them.
As we
Which are now going to
suspected.
be +1 damage.
And the Nemesis Knight will cast Hammerhand on himself. Immediately he gets to reroll.
Which Sacred Right does Sisters take? Well, he just tried to roll a 6, not a 5, so it wasn't that one.
Undeniable, isn't it?
You only get to pick if you are. Oh, it's one of the suborders. You have to roll for them otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll.
Or is it if you want two, you have to roll for them, and then you can pick one. I can't remember exactly how it
I
works.
think it's that way around.
I have a feel no pain against mortal wounds.
He has 2 active, so I'm assuming he rolled for them.
Oh, we just got a Perils on the Dread Knight, and he took a mortal wound, casting Hammerhand on himself.
All his wound rolls are immediate.
Oh, well, not the biggest deal.
I'll just jump in and ask them what the Sacred Right is.
We will start shooting.
Oh yeah, so they rolled for 2 rather than taking the guaranteed 5-up deny.
Ah, right, I see.
Grandmaster will
Okay,
fire
here we go.
everything
This is it.
to the mortifiers.
I have dense terrain.
Shooting into the modifiers.
Don't have light cover, sadly, because we not allowed that.
Yeah, and the terrain doesn't have light anyway for some reason.
He's correct, there's no light cover on that
You're right,
map.
which is weird.
Okay. They are toughness 5.
Toughness
Yes.
5, yes.
Okay,
So let's see how this goes.
Gatling sights,
Grandmaster Dread Knight shooting. It's a big deal. Also rerolling 1s because of Drago,
Wounding on force.
I would imagine. No, apparently not.
Force.
They not core?
Okay. 4 at minus.
They are not.
-1?
Yeah,
Oh no, the Nemesis Dread Knights are. The Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight is not.
2 damage.
Yeah, of course, he's a character. But does it not know core and character like
I'm taking it on the
other
acolyte.
Supreme Commanders? Yeah, have a look.
Okay. 1 save, 2 failures. Feel no pain.
It's not on his data sheet. I think it's only on core.
Okay, interesting. Mortifiers take 3
And
wounds.
last shot.
That's alright.
Uh,
That's from the
The side cannon. Yeah.
side cannon.
Well.
Nope.
5 up here, please. There we go. Got 1 wound left.
Alright, and then we go with the psych.
Oh no, that was from the silencer.
That was from the silencer. Okay, so 1 damage. Alright, we got the side cannon here. This is the one you want to do a lot of damage.
Hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s.
Damage 2. 3s and 3s. His aura is core only. Alright, okay, that makes sense.
And he couldn't have put the CM rerolls on because they were miles away at the start of the turn.
Yeah,
3
exactly.
damage each from these.
Yep.
Good attempt.
Yeah, he put the full rerolls on himself actually.
Alas.
Yep.
That's the anchorites. And then -2. So 6s.
Now let's not forget that this Psycan is doing 3 damage now because of the
Yep.
the psychic power that was cast.
And 1.
And he's failed every single wound so far. Takes 2, so 3 wounds left. So I imagine the Nemesis Dread Knight will be splitting fire now.
Alright, the other
Um,
Do a Psy Cannon into.
I don't know.
also fire
He's only hitting on 3s, not 2s. So I would just put everything into the mortifiers here, guarantee the kill, and make sure you deny the grind.
Yeah, with grind them down, it makes sense.
The other guy. He gets to reroll once because he is core and the Grandmaster and Drago are next to him.
Yeah, so this Dread Knight's re-rolling 1s. That makes sense.
Hitting on
Here we go.
Force. Because he's not a Grandmaster.
4's re-rolling 1s. It's good that he gets it.
Good thing I can
You
reroll.
get to those. Oh, not that one.
Come on.
Oof. No conversion there. Only 2 through.
And on 3.
Both
Both wound though.
Both wounds. -2 again.
6 up save.
I need to roll them individually.
Fails.
First
Does 3
one.
damage. That's probably... Oh, of course there's
Okay, one wound.
Yep,
there's
they
another
have
Warpfire left,
a.
so of course he's firing everything in there. Makes sense.
Next one. Also
Never
not
5 up,
saved.
feel no pain. Oof.
And
Only
another
takes
one.
1.
That's some...
Right?
Yeah, well, you're right. Absolutely, you should have fired everything. I missed this extra guy hiding behind a tree there.
Yep.
12 shots on that.
Yep. Force. Reroll on the 1.
Still a decent chance of killing them here, but he needs a lot of these wound rolls to go through.
Again.
Only 4, I think. Yeah, there's no chance of him killing them really.
4.
Yeah.
And it's
And it's only the -1 as well.
Okay.
Yep.
That
First
does
Failed to save.
get through. Likely to kill. Does kill that one.
Yep.
And failed there. So
It is possible if all of these wound.
Then we have
So
3
2
left.
damage each, but highly unlikely. They don't all wound.
Well.
They've only got 4 up saves, right? They do all wound.
Feeling it.
Yeah.
And
Only
a,
takes 4 damage.
and a beautiful average roll. It only takes the 4 damage. So you'd be probably looking at
One wound.
Drago to try and finish them off with a Stormbolter.
Well, let's see if Drago can
There it
finish the
is.
job.
The ultimate Chad. Here he comes.
He's
Mastercrafted Scott.
yeah, because he's a Terminator, he gets
4
auto
shots.
discipline, hitting on 3s, reroll everything.
Of course, he chapter mastered himself, knowing this moment was coming and wanting
Yep.
to look good in front of his Grey Knight friends.
5s.
1 wound.
Only 1.
AP -1. Here we go. It's a fail.
Damage 2.
And that is 2 damage.
That's a CP reroll.
Nope,
Nope,
he's
there
dead.
we go.
Oh no, that was just a feel no pain.
Okay.
He dies.
Yeah, I think he just assumed it was a normal stone bolter.
Yeah.
Well, there goes
Well,
grind.
that was still relatively close.
That was a lot of shooting.
We
The other one
still
was
have the
fire
Nemesis,
into the
Nemesis
tank
Drag Knight to the
commander or not?
back. Yep. He's out of range.
The 24-inch range goes both ways, and there's no spotter details here. Charges. Here we go.
I guess. Oh wait, no, these are. planting
They are
flag.
raising the banner. Yep.
Okay. So, how many charges will you do?
We'll start with the Grandmaster.
Took a lot of shots, but that's a very expensive unit.
Just charging the tank
Yep,
commander.
it definitely is.
Well, there's
All
nothing
dead.
And now the 2
that I can tag together.
the baby
so-
carriers are going to charge in
Yeah.
here.
Charge the Dread Knight, the Grandmaster
7. because he gets
first. 7, so he's gonna go round, and he's not scared of Morven Val at all.
here. And it's still out of
I mean, that was what, like,
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
well, modifiers are what, 40 something points apiece?
Okay.
Yeah,
The Dread Knight will also push a tank commander.
here we go. The Dread Knight 1. Will he make the charge?
He's gonna need an 8 because that's a +1.
It's an 8. I imagine you're saving a CP for this. That is not it.
Gets
Oh,
a 6.
if he changed to the Tide, that would have been a success.
It absolutely would have been.
Reroll that.
Maybe he forgot the new Tide. Oh, who needs
Oh,
a
that-
Tide? You could
There we
just
go.
spend a CP. And it goes.
That's
And do you want to leave some space for Drago or not?
yeah. I'm trying to.
Do you want to push Drago in here tactically? You can protect him with the Nemesis Dread Knight if he stays here with Lookout Sir. I guess there's not that much shooting coming out from this list apart from the tank commanders, and you've got one sort of up. I mean, with the mortifiers, you've got a lot of heavy bolters, which actually is very good into Drago. So, you know, given that you want to get that 15 on primary, would you want to charge Drago in or not? What do you think?
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, I think you just want to charge Drago in because he's going to rip anything he fights in melee
Something like that.
into pieces.
Yeah.
And you think the 15 on primary is not so important?
See if
Drago
we can
here.
get
So we need
Drago
a
in there.
9-inch charge. So he needs to roll an 8.
Drago on a
I
9.
mean,
He does not get.
he's
the
already
+1
getting
from
15 on primary.
Oh, Breath
from
is
the
not core.
Grandmaster because he's not core.
Oh! The
Gets to go
Giga
again.
Chad strikes again.
He's going
Here he
to-
comes.
Yeah, he snorted his Warpfire.
Not bothered.
Yeah.
This is where you flex on your opponent and strike first with Drago and one-shot the
Kinda
tank.
Really, as I was most expecting him.
And Warpfires do have the vehicle cooler, don't they?
They do, yes.
definitely die anyway,
So that's 4 points to bring it down.
even from just the Grandmaster.
That's true. That is true. Not nothing.
No interventions from me.
That's... And then we'll start fighting. I'll start with a Dread Knight.
Although we're not
back.
getting anything for engage this turn.
He will use his Mighty Strikes.
Let's see what the
5
Dread Knight does in
attacks.
combat.
Are we sure about that? The Grandmaster
Yeah,
Those
we'll
is
get
Grandmaster.
2. Yeah, we're staying away. You're right.
should get 2.
And he hits
As long as he doesn't move.
Because it's a nemesis weapon?
No.
Wait, no, that was on the Mortifiers, never mind.
It was on Morpheus, and I'm still in Tide of Shadows, so
See how we.
hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s.
Okay.
Because Drago is yelling at him.
Yes.
Wounding on 3s, rerolling everything because of Hammer.
Oof, Hammer Hand. The new Hammer Hand, not +1 to wound anymore, and rerolling everything has actually paid off there.
5
Okay.
at minus
I mean,
3.
rerolling
I
everything
believe
is
it's minus
so much better than +1 to wound.
-3. Wow.
Okay. And that's D6 damage.
I wanted to actually just have him blow up right now, but
I can't believe he made those saves on the -3, so that only does 6 damage.
okay.
But there's still a lot more coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to interrupt by any chance?
Always polite to ask your opponent for the interrupt when they've only got a tank in combat. Very important that.
Okay. Then we
Yeah, I mean that's some beautiful BM.
He gets 6 attacks with swords.
Paragon suits are 80 points for the unit, right?
7.
Yeah, no.
Points.
The Titan Sword is actually -3. Not -4, so it doesn't cut straight through, I believe.
No.
No, the Titan
it
Sword is
84.
-4. Sorry, it's the I was talking about the Grandmaster Dread Knight Sword is only -3.
2 at minus
Yeah,
4.
-4 goes straight through.
6 damage, I believe. 'Cause he does
Yep.
3
So exact lethal with Drago, once again flexing,
on Machine Spear. Work with me.
and it blows.
Oh, he does.
Ah. Oh dearie dear.
I believe. Last game I had basically a Chaos Thunderhawk blow.
That's a big old explosion. And not what you're looking for is
Dealing 2d6 critical damage, wiping
it's
out
the Grey
units'
Knights.
attack percents.
Oh god. Okay.
Okay, so on the Grandmaster, 3 mortal.
3 mortal wounds on the Grandmaster.
Gets 5.
Oh, God.
Does have the feel no pain. That is important. I mean, it only saves 1, but
Against
worth
Drago.
doing. Oh, 3 again.
Also 3.
Jesus. That's one hell of an explosion.
Does save 2. So this is
He takes 1.
yeah. I'll get it afterwards. And 2
finally the Knights
and
takes
with the
2.
feel no pain. Does take both.
Takes 2.
But you do see here the what the Grey Knights got. Their army bonus of the resistance to mortal wounds. It's not just a psychic thing. There's a lot more mortal wounds in the game now than there used to be. Celestian shooting, etc. Explosions even, and just having that feel no pain is pretty useful.
The Grandmaster also gets to pile in.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Combat, you can't select
It's some free chip damage. You know, that's not nothing.
Something that's charged regardless of,
Yeah.
of whether he's in engagement range or no.
You sure about that?
I am absolutely sure.
Drago's going to push forward. I guess into the dents.
Piling 3 inches that way.
Yeah,
3
I
inches,
mean,
but he has to end up
Does
I can
make
see
it
it,
easier to charge.
more than 5.
but it doesn't
Can
make him much harder either.
that ends him up? I think.
Yeah, and or made a charge move in the same turn. Okay.
And then
Oh, we're doing some
go,
post-combat
so at least gets the
piling
hits
in
off.
and consolidating.
Well, not really. You need to be behind. You need to. I need to be able to draw a line through. I must be.
Sure,
forced to
I'm
draw
sure
a
it was
line
possible, so it's
through
fine.
the dense cover.
You have to move from one part of your base to all parts of my base without going through the dense cover.
That is correct.
He's not wrong on that one.
it's a silly rule, but that's how it says.
Yeah, I can confirm
Oh,
that's
yeah.
exactly how that works.
Yeah, every part indeed. Sorry, I misread it. I mis. Yeah, every
Oh, good.
part.
I was
Okay.
confused with that wording for a while as well. So
Yeah. Okay. Oh, indeed. Then you will have to dense cover.
And he can still pile in and consolidate with the
done.
other Dread Knight.
No morale.
If he
Drago's not
wants to.
allowed to go that way though.
No, he fought first, and then he didn't. He couldn't move because he was up against the
I'm
tank
here.
Oh, he
commander.
fought fast with this one. Okay, which is why that did that. Sorry, I thought that the Grandmaster fought first. Of course, that makes sense, and that's why he was re-rolling. So that's why he could then do the pile in and move. So you get the activation because he charged, and then you get the extra movement.
Let's see. At the end
Block
of
off
my
Trago.
turn,
Good play. Makes sense.
I get
So you get 2
6
points for
points
bring
for.
it down.
It's per mod.
Oh yeah, you got. Yeah, you're right. No,
6.
indeed. Yeah, 6. I forgot that you also got all the mortifiers.
6 points to
That's
bring it
6.
down. 2 for engage.
And I get. Oh, wait. Yeah, I get 2 points for engage on all fronts.
And no banners for the sister. No banners. Sorry, no grind for the Imperium player.
You hold.
No,
2
no
points.
grind this turn.
Yep. 10 and 2 banner points.
Yep.
Okay, time for some counter attacking.
Didn't score grind them down, right? No, you didn't.
Nope.
Kill 3 units.
I
of
lost 2
mine.
units. You lost 1.
Okay.
He's committed pretty much all of his Dread Knights now.
Yes.
There's one on the back on 1 wound,
First.
Yeah.
but
Mornval.
So
it's not infeasible that both of the Grandmaster and the Nemesis Dread Knight die this turn.
yeah, absolutely. It's even likely with the amount of Sacrosanct there. The question is
Yeah.
that follow-up of the Interceptors coming in and potentially Strike Squads coming out. Maybe if they can get there. I mean, the Rhinos didn't really move very much, but that second wave could be the problem for the Sisters player. But
Yeah, I mean, he basically has this turn to deal with them.
yeah.
If he fails to deal with at least one of them, and either the other one or Drago, then
That's bad news bears.
he'd be in trouble. But if he can deal with one,
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing though, the other issue here is, as an interesting tactical point with grind them down as a general thing is because of the front loading of 40k games. If you've lost grind them down and you lost some of your alpha killer units, as a tank commander is and the mortifiers are in your first turn, then suddenly that becomes a lot harder for all the rest of the turns.
yeah, absolutely. Unless you're playing something that you can survive, pretty much anything the opponents can throw at you. For example, Death Guard is really good for grinding down at a certain list because you know that you're just going to sit there and eat the fucking damage.
Yeah, and they might have to overcommit to kill that one unit to get grind, as
Exactly.
opposed
Just to stop you from getting grind, they're going to have to overcommit into you. That can be really important as something like Death Guard. Sisters and Guard don't really do that quite so well.
No, Sisters particularly, I mean, are one of the more deadly armies in the game, but they're very much about trading pieces.
Yes, they are about trading their pieces up for more valuable pieces.
Absolutely.
Not about trying to withstand enemy fire.
Yeah, for sure.
And funnily enough, Guard can do that as well. They are kind of about trading their pieces for more expensive pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. The tank commanders with demolition, with demolisher cannons are one of the more terrifying shooting things in the game. However, with no invul and no 2-up save, as soon as you get some dedicated anti-tank or something with greater range, they will just die.
Yeah, absolutely. But you think about that tank commander. How much? Tank commander is 195 points. That one tank commander blew up a Nemesis Dread Knight, which is 175. So it technically didn't trade up, but then it also did a bunch of wounds to the other ones.
Yeah.
Admittedly, that was a little bit lucky.
By exploding. Yeah, so that one got value. Well, technically, I guess this tank commander on the flank blew one up, and then it's now going to get another unit, another round of shooting, and then the other one did 12 wounds to a Dread Knight, and then a load of mortal wounds around it. So lucky, but did get the value. So they can't trade when they are. If anyone's going to tank, it has to be the Sacrosancts for the Sisters. Yeah, that's true. But they're still quite easy to wound, and you do have a lot of massed fire on the other side.
Yeah, the only thing is that the profiles that are in range of these sisters are not particularly effective into them.
Now this
In
is...
Dread Knights into Sacrosanct,
Knight Shroud Tank Commander.
sure he's got a few attacks, he doesn't have enough.
He's got a sweeping profile now, which is a good thing.
Which is 12 attacks, I believe.
Yes, I believe you get 2.
I assume you're gonna
But it's still a bit
Yeah.
wasted
something.
with the damage too. Here we go, we get the Denial, Grey Knights, +1.
Your mic's not on right now.
Sorry. I'm not used to toggling. So I'll deny
Yeah,
it
I
with
just turned it on and I'm just keeping it on mostly.
yeah.
As long as I don't hear any complaints about background noise, I'm fine.
I'll keep it on for now. If you like
Yep.
hear me breathing loudly or something, feel
Yeah.
free to yell at me. Okay. Grandmaster will deny.
Grandmaster's going to try and
Okay.
deny this
Gets
with the
an
+1.
8. Well,
Plus
that's
That
enough.
is a deny.
That's right.
So the -1 to hit on the Tank Commander does not go off.
Maelstrom.
Yeah, but now the more dangerous ability is going to come out.
The Maelstrom.
Pick one.
I'm gonna want to go for Drago. Probably the most annoying with his 3-up save.
Does go off.
Oh, 7 is enough.
But
Right.
this is again where the plus to deny comes in.
Drago will try and deny it.
Oh,
Would
and
have
11
denied
does it.
anyway.
Gets an
Yeah.
11.
But the difference there is if you roll a 7 as well with the plus to deny, so that's average, you're that much more likely to then deny the power. So it is still strong.
Yeah, it's just not so strong in 2000s with their +1 to cast and ability to
Start out this
increase
year
that
to fire
further.
Grandmaster.
Yeah, that's very true.
Or even just make the ability flat out undeniable.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
So,
Mortifiers, heavy bolters.
24
Are
shots.
they close enough?
What do you do into 2-up saves? You mass fire
Oh, I need to
with
have
Yeah,
-1
absolutely.
AP.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Something's got a very high invul,
Okay.
just withering fire.
Force to hit.
Absolutely. Yeah, about average hits.
And
5 to
force.
wound. Only
Yeah,
4.
about average again.
4 saves, AP -1.
Maybe slightly above.
you don't have cover, so 3 ups indeed.
2 get
Takes 2.
through.
That's 1 damage each.
2 damage.
They're heavy bolters, so that's 4
Heavy
damage.
bolters.
Right, he's down
So
to
you are
5.
looking at the bracket. He doesn't have that 3-up invul anymore,
The guy who is firing with cover.
and he can't shunt away.
Lower 2 saves. These ones are
Right.
2-up.
Makes both of them.
Loves it.
Those easily
Okay.
enough.
Is Morven Val going to fire some rockets, or are we talking bolt pistols here?
I think we're talking bolt pistols. Maybe I would be throwing crack grenades first.
Yeah.
Both pistols from the red
Do
side,
they
2
have? They
units.
have crack grenades, do they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, you would absolutely throw a crack grenade.
Wasn't good enough.
Wounding on
I
a
think
They're only
it's
toughness 6.
4s he's
Yeah,
on.
so wounding on a 4.
Yeah, it is indeed hitting on force, so...
Alright.
2 wounds.
There. 2 wounds.
No AP.
AP no.
Oh,
AP
Just
nothing.
relying on some.
so he gets his 2
AP
ups.
nothing.
Oh,
He's good.
never forget your crack grenades, people.
Next
Yeah, they are important.
Can be the difference,
2 ones.
particularly if that one gets through.
Move things lower than 4.
Yeah, he could have thrown 2 crack grenades here instead of these 2 pistol shots, and that would be...
Reroll the 1.
I mean, he's basically trading a strength 4 AP1, AP0 shot, damage 1 shot for a strength 6 AP3, damage D3 shot.
2 ups.
There's no reason not to use it.
1 damage.
Well, now we're gonna have to roll out the heavy artillery.
So let's see. We've got the Canoness has
Yes. Okay. Manticore.
just a bolt
Crack grenade.
pistol and a crack grenade.
+1 to hit. Will target.
But you'd imagine Morven Val might do it. Oh, okay.
Grandmaster,
Manticore's going first.
Storm Eagle rockets, and the Hunter Killer will go on the Nemesis Red Knight.
Interesting, splitting fire.
So, Storm Eagle rockets.
Risky.
How many shots do we have?
I
We
hope
get
not
8 shots, it's one above average, and you reroll into 10 shots.
Oh, alright, you can roll 1 of
Yep, I get to reroll 1 of them. So, force to hit.
So only 4 go through, wounding on 3s.
3 to wound.
3 wounds minus 2, so you're
3
looking at
saves, so -2.
4 ups.
4 ups.
3 up.
On average, well, could swing one way or the other, and it swings the wrong way. That's 6 damage.
Oh boy.
There we go.
Does he CP it?
Does he explode?
I would be considering the CP here. If you do CP it, you're forcing another unit to fire at it.
Reroll it. I do still have
Well,
a heavy
oh yes, full ability payload. Yeah, of course, it's always 3 damage.
Oh right.
He should. He's just said I do have a heavy bolter. You need to declare that first. But I don't know whether he did. But yeah, I would imagine he's firing the heavy bolter at it.
See if he. I don't think. Wait, do Dread Knights even explode? I don't think Dread Knights explode now that I think about it.
I don't know.
Do Dread Knights
don't-
explode? I don't think so.
No, they don't. Don't know why they don't, but they don't.
They're not real. Machines?
They do not explode. Whoops.
They're fake Dread Knights. But that's another couple of points for bring it down.
Okay. So
And more importantly, a big threat off the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dread Knights. I double checked my.
And that's
Only
one unit for grind them down as well.
Okay.
Hunter killer missile.
Okay. Well, the heavy bolter slash uses
Yeah, unfortunately misses.
thing.
Yeah.
And then this Nemesis Dread Knight is gonna face the Baron
Here we go.
Demolisher.
Demolisher round 2. He's already picked up one Dread Knight, and this one's damaged.
Being spent here.
That is 3 shots. Goes to 7.
Goes up to 7, which is more respectable.
Which is why you take
Okay.
gunnery.
Increase the hits.
All
That's okay.
hit. Still 4 wounds. He could save a couple of these.
Yeah.
AP -3.
Alright. He gets his 4
For a
pinfall.
pinfall,
Yep.
swinging it. Ooh,
Makes 3 of them.
only the 1.
Just one.
D6
Do I want
being swingy, as you would expect. There's still a couple of rockets from Morven Val, which I would expect to go into him as well.
How much damage is
It's just 2 damage.
2?
2.
Unless you want to reroll that.
So be it. 2.
Okay.
A heavy bolter. All hits. 1 wound.
Not a bad move to do Hail of Fire.
2 up.
It's very
because-
true.
Yeah, guaranteed the 12 shots for 2 CP. Yeah, that would have probably been a good use of his CP. He does only have 4 left right now, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're quite limited, but is there going to be more valuable uses of the CP?
I'm allowed to
This
target
game?
Drago with Morven.
Maybe.
Yes, you are.
He might have
Fire
plans.
missiles and
Yeah, he might have plans for these. Is there something you can do with the sisters? The Sacrosants?
I don't
know
know.
the sisters' codex that well yet.
missiles.
Neither do I.
Big, small miss. Okay.
Okay. Only
Yeah,
one
yeah,
missile
On
hits.
3s.
Hitting on 3s, yes, and I'm still in to read this character, so to reroll my rolls of 1. There. 2 hits, and 2 wounds, both wounds, AP minus.
Both wound though with the
This is
reroll
three up invul.
for a pinball.
3 up invul because he used the thing this turn. Ooh, but they both fail.
Oh,
This
then
is
D6 damage. I
He's going to
reroll
reroll one of those. Makes sense.
makes sense.
And it's
Yeah.
a 6. There you go. Worth it.
Takes
You
1.
can still die here.
Absolutely.
Damage.
No, only takes 4.
4. I'll take 4.
Okay.
But he is down to just 2 wounds left, and he's staring at a Canvas and Morven Val in
And
the
then we have
face.
the heavy bolter.
Yeah. By all means, play the prediction game on where you think the CP is going. That's fun.
There's a miss.
Oh, both wounds.
2 wounds.
With the heavy
AP minus
bolters.
1.
Right. Gets his 3 up.
One goes through, so that's 6 damage.
It's 2 damage.
And
damage.
he's down. Drago is dead, sadly. Of course he has 3 up pinball.
Yeah.
So that's 2 units so far for bring it down this turn.
Yep.
He's going to charge the Dread Knight, and Morven Val can take that down in melee.
Absolutely she can.
Okay, these 8 Sacrosants will shoot their pistols at these interceptors, and 2 of them are not in range.
So, I mean, we talked about this. Full payload Morven Val when? Morven Val's got enough, I think, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, considering she's already the point-for-point best model of the game, don't really think she needs any buffs.
Force the wound.
Does do some bolt pistol wounds to those interceptors, but
It's no AP, so 3s.
Bjorn.
yeah.
Okay,
3 ups.
I don't know, maybe they randomly got Gravis armor.
Just take Plinks a wound.
Takes 1 damage.
2 wound treatment for Grey Knights coming in big.
Okay, fire these. Yes, I fired those.
I think he's pretty much done this now. It's just charges.
Yeah, we can move on to the charge phase.
He does, however, remember, on his sister's units right now, he has a +1 to advance and charge rolls.
Is going to charge the Nemesis Dread Knight.
Yeah. I'll pay command points to Overwatch.
Oh, there's an
Let's see.
Overwatch coming.
Yes, 12 shot with the Gatling. On
I guess with
sixes.
that amount of fire, you can hope.
Okay. And on fours.
I mean, it picks up a couple.
Mm-hmm.
2 wounds.
There we go. 2 at -1.
-1, okay. 3 up. There we go,
Ah.
save.
Done nothing but the side cannons. These are the ones you want the conversion for.
Yeah, does he get any 6s though? No.
No, and that's unfortunate.
Alright, okay, go for it.
So,
Alright,
charge
I'm
distance.
gonna have to leave you for just a second.
It's a 5.
5 becomes 6.
You can watch Morven Val stab this Dread Knight, and that's good play. Doing the charge on and then getting on that objective means that actually you're looking at
Back.
denying your opponent a 15 on the primary this turn.
Yes, and because of the ridiculous length of her spear, she's definitely on that objective.
9.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pop off one sec.
The Canoness gets in as well, which is pretty big to be honest. I mean, it's not a smash Canoness, it's not ridiculous, but she still does have a Blessed Blade, which is not nothing.
We want to charge with.
Um,
Gonna just want to have them move up, so 3%.
I mean, in fact, she is pretty smashy.
10 becomes 11.
Yep.
She does have Blazing Iron for +1 attacks.
That's
She also has the. I mean, obviously, Rapturous Blows is always a thing. But, so +1 to strength and damage of all melee weapons.
okay. Red Sacrosanct.
Val measures from the base, she's not on the point.
That's
Val
right.
doesn't matter if any part of your model
Okay.
is on an objective,
Not a
is within
Sacrosanct,
range of an
okay.
objective, you
Fine,
count as being on the
50%.
objective, don't you?
No.
Oh no, she measures from the base. I know you're right.
7
Part of the
becoming
base
8
needs to be on
is
there.
Not enough.
I thought she was a vehicle, but no, she is a vehicle.
No true need to reroll, so I'm okay with that.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that she measures from that.
Let's do some chopping.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
But either way, I'm pretty sure she's within
I can
3.
start out with
because-
Val. I think out of the 2 characters here,
Maybe not, but she can still, once she kills this Dread Knight, she'll be able to consolidate onto the point. Or even just pile into the point there.
I think you're moving away from the Dread Knight.
yeah, no,
Alright, I'm back.
too close to actually.
Welcome back. So the Sacrosanct and the Smash Canoness both made it into the Dread Knight as well.
Oh, that's a dead Dread Knight.
Okay.
And you go with Morven Val first, and then you get the pilot and consolidate activation with the Sacrosanct to get onto the objective.
Yes, absolutely.
So you don't have to worry about it.
Well,
Excellent.
we have 5
1
attacks.
CP for +1 to hit, either shooting or fighting, and they can use 1 or 2 CP to gain Zealot, reroll all hits on the charge. Pretty good.
Yeah, those are both pretty decent options. I don't think we're going to see them come out here, because I think Morven Val and the Smash Canoness should clean up this Dread Knight.
Yeah, no problem.
Wounding on 3, I think.
Not the best
8, so
wound
moving
rolls, but
increase.
full wound
Rerolls are
rerolls.
melee.
Right.
Converts into 5,
Okay,
4.
I have 3 6s, so that's 3 mortal wounds, and, 4 saves.
Alright, let's quickly do the saves. He has a 4 up.
Wow,
Wow,
all
the
saves.
spike.
There.
Saves them all. Okay.
3 mortals.
Thank God for the 3 mortal wounds for the Sisters player.
I have a field up against mortal.
So otherwise that would have been a complete bust.
Takes
Takes 2, but he was relying on Morven doing some more damage than that.
And you would definitely expect it.
The
Want to
Canoness
interrupt?
has. Yeah, I'm thinking. So the Canoness has permanent as transhuman.
Yes.
Considering the interrupt here. If you do kill the Canoness, then the Sacrosanct might not be able to finish off the Dread Knight.
Well, making them re-roll all hits. Well, they're only re-rolling 1s to hit because of Morven.
He shall go.
Now that 1 CP for
Sacrosanct.
-1 to wound. -1 to wound against them, you mean?
It's close then, I assume?
Yes, sweeping blows. So he gets 8 attacks.
Yeah. Have you already paid the CP or not?
So he's spending 2 CP to interrupt here.
Yep.
Hmm.
I think it's a wise choice. If you can still kill that Canoness, chance of that Dread Knight living goes up significantly.
Again, gives
Going with sweeping attacks. Oof. Does miss 3.
Goes there.
He
Wounding
cast
on
Hammer Hand on
two.
himself last turn.
Yep, still goes through, so but that's only the
So he gets a
wounds,
reroll to
so
wound.
Yeah, so,
He is
well,
wounding on
twos to
twos.
wound, rerolling the ones.
Yep. Get in there.
So everything wounds.
5 at -2.
-2, so on the invul here,
Okay,
damage
well,
2 each. Ooh!
It'll save 4 of them died.
Oh, he
Oh, so this
goes
is
into
split into the
Saxons.
Sacristans. Okay.
That would have
That's a
been a
reasonable
dead
choice.
Canoness, right?
Alright.
It would have been.
And
Well
now
then.
you get to go with everything else.
But I guess you couldn't know that.
Well, the Canis does have permanent transhuman and also has a
Let's just select the Canoness.
no, just as a permanent transhuman.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. Although full rerolls to wound is pretty good against transhuman.
There you go.
Oh,
This is true.
For that.
Yes.
Plus-
Not as reliable.
Way more
It's true.
convenient. Didn't know that.
Strength 5, so you're still wounding on 5s into the Dread Knight, but there's a few attacks here. 6 attacks. It's not nothing.
Yep.
Yeah, 6 attacks at a strength 5, AP 3, damage 3.
Strength 6.
Yep, and he's stuff with 6.
Ah,
Well,
no.
strength 6.
Mm.
Just +1 to strength and damage.
Never mind.
All wound. AP -4.
Oh, that looks like a dead Dread Knight.
Yep. 4 up invul.
Unless he can spike the save again.
Well, 2 is
Yep.
enough.
And he
Plus,
does. Oh,
3 damage
no.
each.
Oh, damage goes up as well with.
Exact lethal. Seen Drago. Decided to emulate.
Applied Red Knight.
Yeah, so that's 3 units dead this turn for grind. So
And that's another 2 points from down for you. There you go.
And then we'll
Yeah.
consolidate 3 inches there.
these guys are just gonna.
These here need to closer to them. We can just mark ourselves in this objective.
Do they get to do they get to pile in more?
Well, I assume we can select them for combat, so 6 inches.
Yeah, but that was like almost 8 inches.
Oh, okay. Move them back then.
Yeah.
Doesn't want them too close.
Yeah, understandably doesn't want these Saxons getting to go further than they were supposed to.
Morale, which I believe I am now.
What did you miss? You missed the Morven Val whiffing horribly.
Exact wording.
The Dread Knight interrupting, killing, I believe,
4?
4 Sacristants. Yep, and then the Canoness finishing off the Dread Knight with an exact
Autopass.
slice to the head.
No. Modifies to the leadership characters just means that they stay on leadership
character.
8.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
So here we go for the morale check on the Sacristants.
Yeah, he needs to get a 5 or well,
Not
anything but a
bothered.
5 or 6, and he was fine.
Not bothered.
Well,
Actually, the Saxon Spear's alive. Anything but a 6, and he was fine.
Power has been taken out, but there's still a fair bit left. So,
But there's also a good reason to keep the Nemesis Dreadlight alive on 1 wound, because it's a free pickup for grinding them down in a later stage. And this thing, it's not very dangerous anymore.
Alright.
That's true.
You hold 3, I hold 3, so I
We
get 10
get
points.
10 points on the primary there.
Raise the banner. And we'll see how this turn goes.
Think we're going to see title conversions come out this turn?
I imagine so. This is when you want your stuff to start flooding from the rhinos and getting into combat.
The Rhinos are still not well positioned to do that, though. So the only things that are really likely to get attacks are these Interceptors.
Restrains movements.
But they might be able to mortal down more of them.
We have got banners on 3 objectives, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, he did it in the middle objective here by the Interceptors, and then the 2 back objectives, the Strike
Just the
Squads.
advantage of that really long move.
Yeah.
Just so useful.
disembark time.
Yep, gonna have to.
Now there is an argument to going celerity here instead of conversions, just to make sure you make these charges.
Absolutely.
Charge.
It's vital you tie up this tank commander again so it doesn't start turning its attention to picking off 1 unit per turn wherever it goes.
And they'll move 6.
And what's that charge we're looking at? We're looking at an 8-inch charge with Celerity.
Then it'll be a 9-inch charge.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
No first to the fray though.
Squads move out as well.
No. Yeah. There's some play here for the Grey Knights. Obviously, if they can take out this tank commander, that's pretty big.
Will not touch the
But
terrain.
they've lost pretty much all of their Dread Knights, and the remaining one is on 1 wound. Yes, they've got a bunch of infantry, and that infantry can do a lot of damage.
And this
But I
one
feel like there might not just be enough left for Grey Knights to really do what they want to do here.
this way. Try and block a bit.
Yeah, I'm looking at the mortifiers as well, saying how do we deal with them?
That's exactly what I mean. How do I get rid of that Manticore that's going to basically remove a squad that's not in cover every turn?
Yep.
How do I deal with these mortifiers, which are just going to chew up a squad whenever they either shoot them or
Themselves.
buzz them?
Don't Grey Knights Infantry or Power Swords, 4 swords. Yeah, essentially, yeah. So they're all dangerous in combat. With the halberds, you got strength 6, AP -2, 2 damage, I think. So very scary if they get in there.
Hey, boys.
But these Sacrosands are pushing forward. You need to deal with them. You need to deal with Morven Val, and you need to tie up this this tank commander. Mortal wounds
They
is
also
the
have to
other
deal
way.
with the Canoness.
Yeah, she's hard to kill, and she can stand back up.
And then whilst that's happening, you have all these threats in the backline that you have to deal with. So yeah, so they get on top of this tank commander, it's almost certainly dead.
This Red Knight will do another 6-inch move.
It'll probably kill a few of the Sacrosands.
Well, he only hits on 5s now, so.
Yeah, he'll kill a few. Still got 18 shots.
We're also lacking all the rerolls because our commanders and our force multipliers are gone. Drago with his buff giving
Yeah,
and the reroll
absolutely.
ones around him.
Embarking on movement. What's he gonna do?
Now there is a Brotherhood which gives you a reroll of 1s to hit and wound when you shoot with them for 1 CP. That's their stratagem, but this is not that Brotherhood.
We'll just shuffle him up.
That Rhino did not let go of its troops, and it's just pushing up to, I think, ideally get the threatening on the Manticore next turn. But this is where we could see the Smash Preacher
Yes!
show his face.
The crazy preacher. Hair wild and akimbo. Charging forward yelling. Sounds fantastic. I'm very excited to see that.
But what I could see, because obviously that's not coming out this turn, that Rhino doesn't have any massive save. I could see this Manticore moving into this back corner here, firing everything, including it has, well, just firing everything into that Rhino.
I believe there's a +1 to hit stratagem if you're within line of sight
Yes.
for Imperial Guard.
Ultra discipline there.
Yep, and he seems popping that. The Mortifier's coming over here with the Preacher, so that when the units come out of the Rhino, the Mortifiers and the Preacher can remove them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although these guys pushing forward, depending on what happens in this combat with the Sacrosands, that could be problematic.
Yeah, absolutely, because otherwise you'd be potentially looking at these Sacrosands going left, trying to wrap the Rhino, so if you do blow it up with that shooting, they can't really get out anywhere. Bafarok, the different types of deep strike rules. So there's deep strike, which is the generic term that we use for something starting off the board and coming in. And then there's strategic reserves, which is a particular essentially stratagem. You can use command points at the start of the game to put something into strategic reserves. And there's also some stratagems which are similar to one or the other. True deep
And psychic abilities as
and
well.
psychic abilities as well, absolutely. So true deep strike means that you can come in on the board anywhere that is more than 9 inches from an enemy unit, and it doesn't matter where on the board, as long as it's turn 2 and onwards. Strategic reserves is a little bit different. It's from turn 2 and onwards, but on turn 2 you couldn't come on your opponent's board edge. You can only come on the sideboard edges. and that's the difference there. But so it's a bit more limited, but the advantage is you can put whatever you want into strategic reserves, whereas for deep striking you need that psychic power, you need that stratagem, you need that.
Specifically, if
Terminator
something
armor.
started on the board, it is not subject to not being able to be placed down from reserves on turn 1.
And obviously, in a world of exceptions, there are drop pods.
Yes, of course on that. That's a whole different story entirely. But for example, you can, Gates of Infinity on turn 1 because the unit started on the board, it gets put into reserves, and then immediately gets put back. Same with Thousand Suns with, I forget what it's called, but it's a Cult of Duplicity ability. But there's lots of ways to move around the map very efficiently right now. But the stipulation that you have to be more than 9 inches away from enemy models is a constant.
Sorry, I'm having a...
Yes, Sorcerer's Facade, that's it, Creeper. There are a few things to get around that. There's, as far as I'm aware, there's a Vexler Teleport Homer for Custodes, which allows you to deep strike more than 3 inches away, so 3.1. But that's a big 3 CP stratagem, and pretty unique.
Yep.
And then there's also the Iotan Gorgons, which, there's GSC as well, but I don't know about them, and nobody knows about them. They don't exist. They're laying low for the minute, but we'll probably see them in a few months. But there's the Scions, the Iotan Gorgons have a 1 CP stratagem to deep strike more than 5 inches away from an opponent. So it gives you that ability, even if you're being screened, to get your Scions down and get Rod off or what have you, if that's what you're looking to do with them. I've run that before. But they can't then charge.
Yeah, absolutely. Interestingly, I believe both of those stratagems do not work into things like infiltrators, which have a 12-inch area denial.
Absolutely.
Because they specifically have that on their data sheet, as opposed to it being a rule of the deep strike itself.
But I was just about to talk about that. Dynamic insertion was the Grey Knight stratagem when something came in from Deep Strike. Bearing in mind, this is not a redeploy Deep Strike like Gate of Infinity. You couldn't do it. It was only true Deep Strike, something that started the game off the board. They used to have you could be outside of 3, but then you couldn't charge. They have lost that. That is not something they have anymore.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to use an old-fashioned deny.
Oh, right.
Oh, Astropath going for a deny here on the Psychic Power. Absolutely whiffs it.
Alright.
D3 mortals.
Takes 2 mortals.
Does bracket the tank commander.
These would bracket them.
That's been... Oh, so the Purifier must have gone off.
Yes, it did. That's what he was just trying to deny just now.
Alright, so... Busy talking tactics here. Oh, good, but come on. It was a lot of fun.
Morbin seems to be the closest thing you can see. Yep.
Ah, demons arrived. Hot damn.
So, you get an 8.
Okay.
You still have some stuff
See,
to know.
this is... That can deny there. This is deny, and that's all the denies I have, right? Preacher doesn't get a deny, nor the Crusaders. Yeah. So,
But the Astropath and the cannon left.
Yeah.
Oh, right, in the Sacrosands.
Ah, yes, and orcs aren't a problem at all at the minute.
No, orcs are not a problem at all.
Oof.
Daka jets are perfectly balanced. Squig buggies, perfect balance.
Apparently, Jesus. Okay.
That's the 6 on the deny for the...
The Interceptors
Whatever the Nemesis Dreadnought was trying to cast.
will
Yeah.
smite.
And we're getting some smites.
Okay. I'm not gonna do their...
That Dread Knight is definitely dying next turn, but it's going to get some more shooting.
Yeah, I think Morven Val will probably just put her heavy bolter into it to finish it off.
Yeah.
They don't get a double
Absolutely.
shoot, they just
Yep.
get the shoot
I
in
thought
the
it was a
psychic
double shoot.
phase. Smite does not go off.
Siri, yeah, that's pretty standard. New orcs are kind of scary.
Will you roll that?
Yeah,
That's what
New
I'm
Orcs
saying.
are very, very good, and
Roll that.
Chaos Space Marines are rather terrible.
Smite.
Yep. And I
Unless you're playing Death Guard or Thousand Suns.
Yep.
There's also one
There are some Bellicor lists that are competitive, but they're hard to use and
So you
strange.
can't use CSM though, really.
Yeah.
Psychic done.
Yes.
We'll start shooting.
Chaos Demons are okay.
Iron within,
Oh, yeah.
iron without. Okay, well, good luck.
Yeah, good luck to you, sir. Iron Warriors are not in a good place right now. Out of all of the CSM factions, they're probably one of the worst.
Yeah.
The ones that are sort of semi-passable are what? Emp's Children and
That's it. World Eaters.
I was gonna say World Eaters. You can still make some weird stuff happen with Coronate Berserkers and stuff like that.
Because of the fighting twice. Iron Within, Iron Without has come to mean there's Iron Within and then you shoot them and then there's Iron Without because that's how they die. How's the game been going? Well, the game started off very interestingly. The Imperium player with Sisters Astra Militarum got first turn, pushed up. This tank commander pushed up on the flank and just absolutely destroyed one Dread Knight himself. But then the once per game redeploy that the Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight had, he was over here, he got shot, and immediately redeployed forward here to threaten the tank commander, so that when it came to his turn, he could push up, and this second tank commander that was here, and there was a unit of mortifiers here, just got destroyed by a Dread Knight, Drago, and his shooting, and then melee. They all made their charges. But then there was a counterpunch from the Canoness and Morven Val here, clearing up everything. Sacrosanct's pushing up here, and we're into the Grey Knight's turn right now.
There we go. Middle.
Turn 2. It's been bloody.
It's been bloody, bloodier for the Grey Knights than the Sisters.
Yes.
Yep. It's that or the big tank, which they might just be able to charge down.
Yeah, if this charge doesn't go off for the Purifiers, I think that's going to be pretty brutal for the Grey Knights player.
Absolutely.
Also, that's a good point. With the Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight play, pushing Drago, the Nemesis Dread Knight, and the Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight into the jaws of the enemy. In hindsight, do you think it was a good play?
I actually wanted to talk about that. I'm trying to copy the game. I personally don't think so. I think the issue there is it's a cost benefit on using your redeploy when it's being shot, and the problem is you're against a Manticore, so it can shoot you wherever you go. So I think that's probably what's tipped over the into him wanting to do it. If you've got a tank commander that's shooting, you just teleport behind some cover somewhere else. It threatens another objective or a flank. But here, wherever it goes, that Manticore is going to be able to shoot it. So getting the value by when you do teleport forward, obviously, if it's at the end of the shooting phase and it's to somewhere where you're not going to get charged, say in front of a tank that's not going to do anything in charge, then all that you're doing is getting movement, and in your turn you're going to be able to move 6 inches, get that 3-inch charge. So it is good to use offensively when you do get struck. It's just generally I would say you don't want to use it turn 1. But I think in most games, what you're looking to do as a Grey Knights player is have that Nemesis Dread Knight threaten a particular flank and say, you don't want to shoot me because I'm the only option if you shoot down this flank, and if I redeploy, you're going to waste the fire of the big thing that's shooting me, and it's just going to be completely wasted, and I'm going to go somewhere else. But the Manticore actually plays really well against that.
Yeah, it really does. I was just more thinking about the fact that it might have been an overcommitment to put that many things up there.
Absolutely. I personally would not have run Drago in. I think because he's such a beast, particularly later on in the game, and with the ability to gate and give the rerolls to various bits and pieces, that Nemesis Dread Knight is hitting on 5s, but giving it full rerolls makes it that much more deadly. And he didn't really do anything to the tank. The other Dread Knight, the Grandmaster Dread Knight, wouldn't have been able to do in combat. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Grandmaster Dread Knight had more than enough melee to deal with the problem. And then you would have still had Drago on the field on full wounds.
Yep. Absolutely. And late game, when there's less of the alpha firepower, say you get to turn 5 and the Manticore can't shoot, or the tank commander gets dealt with this turn, then suddenly you've got a lot less things that can deal with Drago. And also, moving up near Morven Val, she's one of the characters that can deal with him in combat if she needs to. What sub-factions does Sisters Guard player pick? The Guard is a custom of gunnery details, gunnery experts and spotter details, the standard +6-inch range, reroll on the hits, and then the sisters, a number of hits that is,
Okie dokie.
and the sisters a bloody roast attachment.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about it. He committed what, about 600 points to that to kill a tank commander, basically,
Yeah, exactly. The tank commander.
and the mortifiers. In fairness,
Yeah, so you're looking at maybe what, a trade-off for like 400-500 points of stuff.
400 give or take.
Yeah, but that's also all your rerolls and everything.
Like 450 points about.
Okay.
But yeah, that's basically, yeah, that's all your rerolls. It's a lot of your damage output to trade down, essentially.
12 shots hitting on
Yeah, for sure.
fives. Oh, okay.
Shooting.
What are we
And
looking at here?
Yep.
Few tricks, lots of havocs,
Four at -1.
obliterators. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Need a lot of
Bafra.
CP and they're not very survivable. Yeah, go Bafra. Yeah, go for it. I was gonna. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the tutelage streams are really more about like really learning the basics of the game.
Fives.
You're probably better watching like alpha show matches, things, trying to learn like tactically a little bit more, and also just playing games. There's nothing like practicing. Playing against players who are better than you in particular, and
We'll start with the easy
yes,
one.
you're probably gonna lose, but you're gonna learn a lot more by losing.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, come in here, having a look, seeing how the game's going, asking questions, you'll pick it up. But then also, yeah, as Orion says, just play. Join the Alpha League. Subscriptions, registrations are open now. I believe we're about 60-something% filled or something, but there's plenty of space.
Yeah, let me do the math. No, we're closer to 70-75% fill at this point.
That's awesome. But yeah. I mean, you come in. Maybe you don't expect to. I wouldn't. You don't expect to win a game, but you might win a game. You never know. Seeding is random, and you learn a lot more from the games you lose. And I've not had a game of Alpha that I haven't had fun in, whether I won or lost.
Try to reroll here
The
or
closest came this season against Seal with his Death Guard because I had literally no choice, but he still made it fun because he's a great guy. So, not a problem.
Yeah, that was a rough match for you, unfortunately.
Yep, just a bit. Alright, let's see how we're going. That unit of Sacrosanct looks like it's been shot to pieces. The Interceptor's got in here.
They make it though. So
And we've got the Purifiers into the Tank Commander. That is... keeps the Grey Knights definitely competitive here.
Yeah, removing that tank commander was not an option this turn. It had to happen. If it didn't happen, it was just all going to be going downhill from...
Yeah, absolutely.
yes.
And with the flat 2 damage, the AP -2, I mean, they're going to be wounding on 5s, but there's quite a few
Yeah.
attacks here.
I'm surprised that the tank commander didn't try an Overwatch you.
Yeah. I believe he only has 1 CP remaining, so that's might
He
be
has 3 CP remaining.
We've got
he has 3 CP remaining. You're right. It's the other way around.
So I think that's very much worth 1 CP to do that.
That's fair.
It might have even been worth the... if you can do the strat to fire 12 shots with your cannon automatically in Overwatch, it might be limited to the shooting phase. I can't remember. But either way, I still think it's worth the Overwatch, and potentially it would have been worth the 3 CP for the 12 shots.
Oof, that's a good roll.
Okay, I'll definitely take that. Twos.
These are the Sacrosancts over here.
11
They
at
are
-2.
For a
very
payroll,
dead.
Yeah, that's a 7 dead.
That's 7. That's enough to kill the squad.
That is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, that's big.
Yep. And now they get to fire.
Yeah, what was it? 11 dice and failing 7 50-50s? That's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. Can never rely on that 4-up invul. And that means the Interceptors are pushing forward to threaten this objective.
Aldous Crusader.
But it does mean we will get to see Smash Preacher.
Okay.
Although I imagine what you'll be seeing here is the Mortifiers gunning them down.
Preacher is scary, but
More than
you
likely.
should be able to avoid him.
The real question is, what does he do with this Manticore? Because he doesn't want to leave it sitting here in range of that Rhino.
Like we said, you shoot the rhino to blow it up, but you no longer have the tools to deal with everything. That's 2 squads coming out of it and a squad of interceptors there. That's hard to deal with all of that with what you have.
This way.
Hey, Bafrock, yeah, I absolutely get that. Well, I think when we all start, in particular, playing a bit more competitively, I know I did. I want to do well. I want high skill. I'm aware it's a competitive environment. I want to think through every possibility, and I feel like foolish when I make mistakes. But it's kind of more about mentally getting through that, and the only way you do that is by playing games, making mistakes, and dealing with it and processing it. So I would say that's the best way to get through that. And then
Yeah, very much so. I think one of the things that really helped me when I started out playing competitively, I mean, I was scum and I was playing horrible skew lists. I still play horrible skew lists.
Good accuracy.
But in particular, writing down the things you want to remember to do in each phase of the game
Not bad.
yeah, cheat
um,
sheets.
makes a, like writing down cheat sheets for what you want to do in certain situations, and like particularly like command phase, what do I need to do? You know, movement phase, what am I looking to achieve, etc., 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 all the way through. Like, and you just have that for your turn, and that makes a big difference to how well you play. Like, it's surprising how big of a difference that makes.
Yeah, it's like a kind of a coping mechanism, self-organization thing. And hey, Drenell, completely fresh to the game. Yeah, do sign up on the Discord, man. There's always good conversations going on. TTSWH40k Discord. There's the casual side where you can just talk to people. You can look for pickup games. There's the tutelage streams, which are
A
definitely worth watching.
mentorship program as well.
Exactly. There's a load of stuff, and then as you get into it, I started knowing very few people. I played some pickup games. I got involved in some tournaments, and you know,
Indeed.
it's a great community. Do join.
Meaning she's got leadership 9. Yeah, okay, I'll just roll normally.
How many terrain in 40k are allowed for match games? GW has some very specific advice on that, which I would relay to you, except there's a game going on right now, and also I don't know.
And also, GW's terrain suggestion is woefully inadequate.
You lost 3.
I think I believe I lost only 1.
But anywhere from, you know, depending on the size of map, like I would say 12 to, I think 12 is, it feels like about a good number of terrain pieces.
You're right. Not updated. I will do it now. 6. Thank you, because he did get grind, which is excellent. But that is a 15 on the primary. Because of this one Sacrosanct Superior over here. That is pretty good for the Sisters player. 46. So
So Val is going to give full rerolls to the Canoness. Right. Where am I making a mistake? I need to double check that. If Val is allowed to do it to characters. I believe she is.
Yep.
I assume so.
Yeah.
Go.
Chapter Master stuff also gets to.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks, JD Willie.
Preacher. Well, could you give a buff to the mortifiers? Yes. Can you give a buff to yourself though? No.
Nope.
Okay.
So interestingly, Tom gave up the 15 by moving the interceptors off here, figuring it was a better idea to overload this flank and get in, and take the temporary hit on the 15 primary.
With the idea of collapsing this flank.
Yeah, absolutely, because it looks like we're gonna, if we can overrun, as a Grey Knights player, if we can overrun there and we can keep this tank commander from doing things, and these Sacrosants don't make this charge over here on the right, well, their left flank, then suddenly you have Morven Val and a Sacrosant Superior, well, Morven Val and a Canoness, more importantly, in the middle, not killing things if you can move away. But that looks pretty bad. The question is, does she charge the Rhino?
Yeah.
And then try and pile in, or do you go for the long bomb?
I think you go for the long bomb. Are you charging an empty Rhino?
Yep. and that's not really a problem for the Grey Knights player. Grey Knights player is, I think, I know Morvenval is incredibly scary, but with a full unit of
Just gonna raise a banner.
Okay.
strikes and Brotherhood Librarian there with the mortal wounds, etc., that might be something you're happy to do.
Okay.
Can she take the GK character in combat? Absolutely she can. But he's being protected by his loyal grey wall.
Oh,
She's eager.
He's eager.
This Canoness advanced, interesting.
She might try and.
Right.
I was just debating. She might try and shoot the rhino off the field here.
Seems hard.
Okay.
Well, she does have 2 crack missiles.
It's a very interesting game tactically, the way it's played out, because of Tom's aggressive move right in the middle, and then the sisters player responding by coming in here. You've quite often you find, particularly with these maps, it's what is it? Battle lines? What's it called? It's not Hammer and Anvil. It's Dawn of War.
Dawn of War.
With Dawn of War deployment, you quite often find that one
This.
army will focus on one flank and the other one will focus on the other flank, because to keep the strength of their army in one place. And then it kind of turns into Hammer and Anvil incidentally. But this game has turned out very differently. It's more like an inside-outside. You've got the strong characters in the middle, and then the Grey Knights.
Yeah, you've got
around
the
them.
sort of kind of V, like across the middle here,
Yeah.
where it's just like the sisters territory, and then you've got the the Grey Knights more controlling the exterior of the map.
It's not a usual
Manticore's gonna move 12 inches.
kind of occurrence. It's interesting.
Okay.
Here we go for you, Siri.
Astropath.
These are Morvenval's stats.
This way.
I don't know if you can see that, but I'll read some of them out. Weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 2, as you'd expect. Strength 5, toughness 5. She's a big old girl.
Is it holy
8 wounds, 5 attacks, and a 2-up save. She has a missile launching spear,
Then it
which
is
also is
time
strength 8,
for
AP minus 3, flat 3 damage in combat. And she's
Well,
got a sweet
the-
profile as well.
the action.
The spear doesn't launch the missiles. The big missile launchers on her shoulders do.
Not in my head.
Ah, well, okay, fair enough.
In my head, it's a harpoon.
Yeah, well, this guy can't actually see.
I must admit, I haven't looked very closely at the
So
model,
he's just gonna cast Night Shroud on the tank.
but that makes a lot more sense.
Definitely going to die.
Interestingly, she doesn't explode, but a Dread Knight, she does explode when a Dread Knight doesn't.
Yeah, that's strange. She does also take half damage.
Yep.
The other one will cast.
So, Psychic Phase, always going to be a risk into Grey Knights. The -1 to hit Night Shroud
We're just gonna
power
cast
didn't
it
go
on
off, and we're trying Maelstrom
Alright.
now.
Actually, could also cast it on the Rhino instead. Yeah, cast it on the Rhino.
It's a
instead.
7, and it goes off on a 9.
9.
So that,
9's not the easiest thing to deny.
We'll try
but a
the
lot easier with a
knights
+1.
with the interceptors.
Yep.
Doesn't make too much
Nope.
That's a 9 as well. So
A 9.
Does not deny it.
Well enough.
2 up.
We'll 2 up.
That is unfortunate.
That
This
is-
power, for those of you
yeah.
who don't know, on 2-up it suffers a mortal wound.
Okay,
Unless the mortal wound is negated, you can
Manticore.
then roll another die on a 3-up it suffers another mortal wound, so it keeps going. But if you do not roll that first 2-up, nothing happens. Yeah, Morvenval is able to take most things in close combat.
Purifiers.
alright.
She can take almost anything short of like a
Telemon.
2 hits.
Telman or like a big knight.
Yeah.
3 up.
Like Megara does pretty well into her.
Yep. You do not want to let her charge you if you can avoid it. Although she didn't do much into the Dread Knight this time due to some unfortunate rolling.
Well, over
This
some
game.
very fortunate rolling from the
That's true.
Grey Knights player.
That's very true.
The
Where are the heavy
Mortifiers.
bolters going?
2 of them are going to shoot.
So
on the
splitting
Red
fire.
Knight,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 of them will
Interesting.
shoot on the Rhino.
Alright. On the Rhino, it is -1 to
Shooting and
hit.
fighting can one-shot Mortarion. Okay, so spiky, I imagine, and Mortarion the opposite, but yeah, that's terrifying.
On the Dread Knight.
Yeah, that must be with like
3s to hit.
With all the rerolls.
no, I assume that's with like all of her damage
Oh, of
output
course,
going
but
through.
you can't re-roll into Mortarion.
No, just 1 wound.
Yeah, I don't think
And
Morbid
outside
ever
twice.
kills Mortarion on a single shot.
Yeah,
Or a
I'm
single
guessing you might have forgotten the no rerolls because of the Warlord trait. Oh, fails the save on a 3-up, so that would be a Nemesis Dread Knight. Exact lethal. Oh
There's no
dear.
lethal roll for that, so he got
Oh
that.
dearie dearie me.
Then the Warpfire on the Rhino.
That includes the fight
Force
twice.
to hit,
Yeah, but
5
5
to
to
wound.
Did not count
Okay.
rerolls.
18 minus
Okay,
1.
alright, well, that's scary.
Force,
I mean,
force
it
to
would take
save.
some fairly extreme spiking on the dice for that to happen.
Yeah.
Did not like close combat with Brayoth Ashmantle. Well, he's a pretty big boy. He can take a beating.
Yep.
Not as good as he was last codex though, sadly, I think, if I remember correctly.
Should have explicitly called that by Asphathos guiding them. If he even can do that on. Because that's an ability to have. It's from Militarum unit anyway.
Yeah, only spirit.
Okay. Let's see. That shot.
So it's technically possible, extremely unlikely.
Yeah. Of course,
And the
absolutely.
creature. Well, creature is gonna shoot his flame.
Preacher's Flamer, here it is. Assault Flamer, Zealot's Vindicator,
Yep.
strength 5 AP -1, not that bad. With one shot, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see.
Does wound.
It wounds. -1.
Yep, they got a 4-up.
Does plink
Does
the final
pick up
wound off a
flames
guy.
still?
Yeah.
Well, it's the one guy that said the wounded guy
Yep.
that said.
I thought Ashmantle got changed. Maybe I'm thinking
Yeah,
of...
he should have gotten updated in the MFM.
Yeah, in the Munitorum Field Manual. Alright, let's see what this Manticore's doing.
And the missiles will target the fire squad.
Can I try and tag out the Purifiers? Okay.
Because Ashmantle is a Forge World model, is he not?
Yep.
Yeah, he should definitely have been updated in the Military Field Manual.
Okay.
Pretty sure he did, yeah. 6 shots, reroll that 2 into a 1. That's not what you need.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yep. 5 shots, hitting on 4s.
Oof, hitting on 4s with a Manticore.
Hits.
Hitting on 2s.
Does not wound.
Oh,
That
no.
is, this is the thing with Manticores. If you're ever tempted to take one, they're useful, but they can completely whiff, particularly if there's a -1 to hit.
1 hits.
1 wound with a heavy
Funnily
bolter.
enough, I don't think there was any. Well, what did he fire into?
I fired at the Purifiers. There wasn't a -1 to hit. He just hits on 4s naturally. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
problem with him. Hits on 4s, and with a -1 hits on 5s, and that's garbage.
I think it was okay, but
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't spend the CP to because it's a direct line of
It was
sight.
a 6 to
Not into the Purifiers, I don't think.
I think it was
I think he moved over here to
wasn't a 4.
Oh, these purifiers over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, got you. Sorry.
trying to protect his tank commander.
Val's gonna shoot these Grey Knights.
With
Okay.
everything.
Yeah, with everything.
Okay.
So, the missiles, we're just gonna the missiles.
Trying to clear the screen.
Hits.
2 wounds on those Grey Knights.
Indeed, -2.
Alright.
And within 12.
5-ups. Yep, so they got 5-ups.
He's still in the tide of
Okay.
shadows.
Let's see. Can you roll a 1?
I don't think he has
Yeah.
a way to
Nope. 2.
change it.
Yep.
Warp shaping. That's the librarian who does.
Next one.
Here.
Yeah, the Libby should be able to do it.
Yeah, just plinked off. Yeah, sorry. But you would have expected it to change earlier, I would have thought. But there we go.
Yeah, I would have thought he would have swapped it by now, but I suppose he just wants the cover.
Mm.
There we go.
The heavy bolter.
1 hits.
Allowed to reroll the ones. So, 3 wounds.
Why do you
18
get the
-1.
ones to reroll from wounds? Does she?
Yep.
Oh, she get.
Abba
Commander.
Sanctorum. Oh, no. Sorry. No. 1 hit. 1 wound.
There we go. It's the 1 wound. It's got
That's
cover. It's -1, so that's a 3-up.
-1, yes.
Still kill a model if it goes through.
So he's in regular light cover. So
Yep.
3-up.
Loves
Yeah,
it.
he's fine.
Not a
That's
problem.
fine.
So he's good.
It's the interesting thing with heavy bolters. The damage 2 is fantastic. Obviously, the strength 5 is great into Marines, but that -1 AP can be easily negated, which is why it's so great to have so many on the mortifiers, just for the sheer volume of fire.
Yeah, you need volume of fire with heavy bolters, really.
Here we
That's why
go.
the Talon Master in particular is so good.
Yeah, for sure.
Alright.
Saxons, 10-inch charge, they do not make it.
That's a 9. It's not good enough.
+1 to charge,
Okay,
still not enough.
Right, okay, +1.
Would you be tempted to try and reroll that?
Honestly, I would. Because that tank commander is just going to die now. And they're going to Stormbolter and Purifying Flame. They're going to... I would be moving up here. Sorry, I just moved that out of the way. I would be moving up here,
Just okay.
Purifying Flame this tank commander to kill it if you can do it, and then just
I'm also gonna charge the Rhino.
rushing these guys. You could also charge them and string back and engage the tank commander as well.
Yeah.
Easy enough to stop it from doing anything.
Ooh, it's a 4.
But we're spending the CP on Morven Val.
Reroll that.
That's where we're spending our CP. That is a 6.
Which
That
becomes a
is
7.
Not it.
That's not enough.
Oh,
Yeah, failing 2 charges in a row. Not great.
For one more turn.
oh, there's Canoness trying it, but I believe that's a long charge as well. And fails. Oof, it's not what you need.
Also with the
5,
charge.
that's not enough.
Watch him get like box cars on the mortar fires into the interceptors.
Exactly, completely unnecessary now. 9. One thing for you, if you are watching, thinking about competitive, and you're wondering about play and how that works, what about charging, etc. One of the things I would say is do not gamble your game on 7-inch charges, even with rerolls. I know it's average, but you do have to be careful. You want to set up redundancies if you do fail charges, or Morven Val here. That's a long charge. He's done the reroll just in case. It's not going to be the end of the world if Morven Val didn't make it, but
Do we charge in the picture?
yeah. Now we're looking at a few things just sitting with
I mean, you don't have enough
sitting out in the open, ready to be shot.
That is correct.
positioning.
And that is
But
not
also
great.
No.
being able to be countercharged. Grey Knights can put some hurt on
Well, we
Morgan.
have,
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a great place to be.
just one fight to fight.
This is why I said, would you charge the Rhino because it's a more guaranteed one or not? At least you're in and you're in combat, so you can't then be shot. But to be honest, then you're closer and you've got these strikes who come
I
back.
think the
Yep,
anchors
exactly.
So let's see. So,
Wait, can you-
and we've done a clever thing over here with the mortifiers, charging them in, using the movement that we got to go around the interceptors to get on the point. They will be taking that banner off, and they can still all hit.
Hitting on 3s,
And probably still all kill.
Yeah,
Bloodsaws are a lot of damage.
I believe they're zealots, so they get to reroll all hits and wounds, right?
Reroll everything.
Yes.
So that is a lot of hits.
Okay, strength 8, toughness 4.
That is a lot of wounds. Oh, reroll all hits,
19,
okay.
so
AP
minus
-4.
AP4 goes.
Well, he's got the
Yeah,
halberd.
that's-
He's got the
That's,
stave.
And that's 2 damage.
I don't think he's worth the strat for that.
Yeah, and it's not worth it,
He only has 1 CP left right now.
for sure. So he can kind
And
of...
that's it. That was 19 dead interceptors. So
two
I don't
damages.
think the strat would have saved him.
No, absolutely not. Siri, that's... Or Ciel, it's tough to say. Creepers, right, those are generally decent secondaries, because you want to play the mission, and it's generally good to have a fast army. But really, the answer is, it's best to have the secondaries that play into the style, the way that you want your army to play. If it is a fast army with stuff that can come down in different places, or deep strike, or teleport, or whatever, you can take those ones. If it's something that's designed for killing, then you might be more tempted to take other ones. I will say I do agree with the principle, which is the less you interact with your opponent, the better. For sure, you want secondaries you can guarantee. I know that my Scions are going to come down and do a rod action, and I don't care if they die. They are 40 points. They are getting me some victory points, and then that's it. That is a lot better than I need to kill a unit, so I need my opponent to help me by leaving a unit out in the open. But there's also, your faction secondaries to come in Drukhari want you to move over the board and stop you from getting out with Herd, so that plays into the way that they play. Thousand Suns, the new codex, Mutate
Wrath of
Landscape,
Magnus.
Wrath of
Also,
Magnus, that plays into the way that they play, and what you want to do anyway. So,
They don't need like someone next to them.
it's hard to. I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't say they're I wouldn't
Heroic intervention.
go for these are decent secondaries, but what I'd go for is I want to play this army. What secondaries apply to that? So, for example, I play Custodes a lot. They're very hard to kill. They have few units. To the last for me is
The very
almost
least, you
always a
have
10 or a
definitely,
15 because
United
people aren't
States
able to
and
kill the
Great
big units
Britain.
that I have.
yep, and you do something similar with
Which is
a lot of Death Guard builds. You're looking at to the last, grind them down. The stuff that is basically relying on counting on your own tankiness to get you secondaries.
And it's a bit more dependent on your opponent than engage or what have you, so you do have to choose when you do them. Take those secondaries, but
Yeah, it's not quite as easy as, like, for example, with Drukhari or certain other armies where you just basically, the three that you're picking are kind of baked into your list and you're always picking them.
yep.
The Rhino is gonna be a bit more of a bastard. He needs to screen.
I can't fight through a wall, so I can still just go stand here.
Yeah, but then you can't like go around either.
This is true.
Again, things like that really depend on your opponent's army.
So what you'll generally find in competitive games is that people are building lists to avoid giving up secondaries. So people will avoid taking more than 3 characters so they don't give up Assassinate. People will avoid taking a lot of big vehicles so they avoid giving up Bring It Down, which, BGH. And interestingly, there's not, unlike the ITC secondaries we used to have, there's not a gangbusters really. There's no prisoners, but it's kind of rubbish. So quite often you find that when you get to the table and you're against an army, you're not really looking at a kill secondary that you can reliably say, I will get this, of any of them. So you generally, and this is where it comes into Creeper's point, you generally want to say, I'm going to come to the table and this is the way I'm going to play. And if my opponent has, 6 characters and they're all T3 and I know that they're melee so they want to get in my face and I'm going to kill them, then by all means pick it. That's fantastic. It's an upside. But you generally don't want to be relying on that because certainly in a competitive setting you won't be able to. Personally, I find playing Custodes with an old codex, I don't have any built-in secondaries into the faction, I will not guarantee, but I will have 2 that I will take almost every single game, and the third one is a flex depending on what I'm up against. Which is a credit to GW's game design, to be honest, in my opinion.
Yeah, the secondaries are something that I think is something that's really helped competitive play in general since their introduction.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Well, banners are taken a lot because on a 6 objective map, you can generally pretty reliably score between 9 and 15 points on banners. It's not guaranteed, but fairly reliably.
Yeah, and also it allows you to do something which you want to do, which is dictate to your opponent what your opponent has to do a little bit. You're saying, I have points on my objectives in the home, you come over here or I'm going to get a load of points during the game. Just as you don't want to play into your opponent's game plan, you would like your opponents to play into your game plan. And if your game plan is, I have some melee and some shooting and I want them to come to me so I can kill them, then banners is fantastic. But if you're looking at your opponent and he's got a Swarm Lord and a load of Obsec Gene Stealers or Hormagaunts and he's going to slingshot them forward and take your objectives even if they die because they're Obsec, do not take banners. It is a terrible idea. And if you've built your army to just do banners, what about if you're on a 4 objective map, It's all conditional. That's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah, but Deep Strike is part of the of reserves, like whatever it's called.
We on turn 3 now, right?
Yes. This is
Or
should
reinforcement.
be
Yeah,
no. This is bottom of turn 2.
Bottom of turn 2. So this, I was going to say, we haven't seen the Scions, have we?
No.
I think
Not that they're
that's
going to do much against.
Actually, no. This is
psychic.
bottom of turn 3.
Yeah, so have we forgotten about them?
You rolled a less than
I
psychic.
believe so.
Yeah, because it's going to go to Warpfire's next turn and it'll be their turn 4. And you cannot, if the person who was asking about reserves earlier, you cannot bring in reserves that started off the board from turn 4 and 5. Never forget Scorpions. Yeah, yeah, Scorpions.
Don't forget one of our judges on the
They will cast Purifying Flame
on the Alpha staff
Warpfires.
forgot about what was it? A unit of 10 Vanguard vets.
Yeah. He's playing right now against Grey Knights, actually.
It's an 11.
Otherwise, he'd be enjoying getting flamed. I think they have just forgotten the Scions. I don't know whether we should mention something. Probably not.
No, I mean it's on the players to remember their units and that the fact that their units exist.
Yeah, it's fair. I have to say,
So that's gonna be
to the people who are wondering about mistakes and they're worried, I think it was Bafarok who was worried about making mistakes in competitive games you play, I can't remember. I forgot in one of my early competitive games in a pod to bring down my Scions and Deep Strike for, it was,
Astropath.
oh god, what's it called? Not Rod, the one before Rod.
You can also deny
Deploy scramblers.
Deploy Scramblers. How have I now forgotten that? Jeez.
That was against me, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I did it against. Maybe I've done it twice. Let's not go there. But I did it against an Orc player, Aaron Kennedy. He's on Vanguard Tactics. He's a fantastic player, and he and we had a conversation and worked it out because I didn't know that was the case. So yeah, that mistake. But you talk it out. Generally, people are understanding. Didn't really change the game. I can't remember what we agreed about it, but whether we did it or not. But you know,
Yeah, Aaron.
I learned not to
Aaron
do that.
Kennedy did quite well this season. He made it to what quarterfinals?
What was he playing?
This one.
I honestly don't remember. I think it might have been Admech.
Because I think you're right. Because when I played against him a couple of times, he was playing Orcs, Death Skull Orcs.
Yeah, he was playing Admech. He went.
So I think he'll be back to Orcs next season. If I'm not.
He went out, I think, after his second round.
Right. Great player.
Oh no, he won his first round, but
He
wasn't
couldn't.
able to.
He couldn't play his
he
second
couldn't-
game. Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't continue the tournament, so he gave up the slot to his opponent.
Yeah, I remember that.
because you can cast every ability except Smite only once.
Oh, right, of course. Yeah. And then you're also allowed to cast the Brotherhood power multiple times.
If I am in Tide of Escalation.
Oh, only then. I see.
Tide of Escalation is a joke.
This. Wait, can you? Now I'm thinking. Can you? Regardless, goes up. I don't know. Fuck.
So, well, to get back into the game a little bit, these Grey Knights have come across here to try and put some hurt on Morven Val, but the problem with, that inside-outside movement, like we said, is you've got to move through some dense terrain, so you're only moving 4 inches. She can happily just relax there. It's also a -2 to charge, so that looking like a 10-inch charge to me. 11 even.
11.
Oof. Even with the Tide of Celerity, that's not it.
No, that's probably not going to happen. That being said, these purifiers are going to come out. They're probably going to deal with at least 1 or 2 of these mortifiers.
Yeah, the question
And
is, where do
these-
you use the
No, they can. Okay, Sanctic Charge.
purifying flame? Over here or over there? I imagine you would use it into the mortifiers. Oh, it looks like he's already done a smite.
So they cast
Ah, okay,
No,
the
the tank
purifier
commander was
flame.
already.
Tank commander, purifying flame. And it goes off.
That goes off on a.
Well, the Saxons can still try.
It's not a super
Yep.
purifier.
He said that goes off on a 10. It did not. It went off on a 9. They do not have +1 to cast.
Definitely.
But that's
We'll
fine.
try to deny it with these Sacristans.
Sacristans for the deny, and they make
they do.
it. Oh.
Okay.
Ah.
That's it. Sister Deny is really working this game.
Holy cow, yes.
And their Storm Bolters are not likely to blink those 3 wounds off a tank commander.
Okay.
Yeah, and then something you've got to think about here tactically is, do you want to then turn the Storm Bolters on the Sacristans? Because if you do, you pull from the front and suddenly you've got a much longer charge. So, but maybe now you're charging the tank commander anyway. So
Yeah, I think, well, you have to deal with tank commander.
A 4 is enough, I think. Nope. I don't
you've
care
got
for
Hammer
reroll.
Hand.
Yep, I also
Fine.
wasn't too concerned about actually denying it.
Doesn't seem like
Let's see.
you
These
got the
Grey Knights
rhinos moved across
Yes.
will also
to try and prevent Morvenval from getting into these, and I imagine they're 1.1 inch away.
Get a 7.
So as the smite goes off,
Well, Val will try to deny that.
another 6 coming up. No.
No.
D3.
D3 mortal wounds on
Just
Val.
the one.
Takes only 1. And she gets
Okay,
4 feel no
4
pain.
up.
Oh yeah, she has a 4 up feel no pain, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. Only versus mortals, I believe.
Yeah. She's more Grey Knight T than Grey Knight T.
Smite as well.
Yeah, it's only versus mortals.
Needs a 7 now.
That goes off.
Goes off on a 9.
Don't have any denies in range.
She's going to take some mortal wounds.
Go for it.
And
Just out of range.
he does have the CP available to resurrect her if she
Awesome one.
dies.
Come on.
But with 1 mortal wound going down, that's not hugely likely.
Down to 5.
And yep. Then we have these knights.
Or did I already?
No, they haven't yet.
They haven't yet, yeah. They
So
go
now we're
also
up to 8.
smites.
Yep, well, it's ticking up
Eight.
by now.
I know.
And goes, oh,
Nope.
does not go off. Would have gone off with the +1. Sad.
And then lastly, we have the librarian.
Yep.
He will cast Sanctuary.
So what's going to get sanctuary here?
The
The
Rhino?
Rhino?
Goes off
No,
on
you
8.
do the squad of strikes, I imagine.
Okay.
You must.
Sanctuary, you'll.
I think you only have the Sacrosanct.
I have
left.
1 second.
It gives it something of 4 up.
Yeah, I'm trying to. What you? Yeah, I'm gonna.
He's going to try and deny the sanctuary.
Try and deny that with the sacrifice.
Does not work.
Nope.
No.
I don't think the librarian can be hit next turn, so I would
You did use the
probably do it on these.
reroll, I think.
Well, I haven't used my reroll in the psychic phase, but
No, wait, you didn't. Yeah.
let's see. His other power he can cast was he can do the height changing,
Tide changing, giving.
multiple wounds on wound rolls of 6.
Oh, so he has switched the tide of convergence.
Okay. In that case, I'll
Tide of
say
fighty fight.
CP on a 4 up by the 9.
Okay.
Nope.
Nope.
So who gets the 4 up?
We will give the 4 up to. Let's give it to the Rhino, to the Grey Knights. We'll give it to
Gives
the
it to
Grey
the
Knights.
squad. Makes sense.
Yep, definitely.
Make them really tanky in the forest there. Then we have.
Just checking one thing.
Lodestone's not going to do anything. Smite or change the warp.
Hmm.
Tides. Tide of convergence.
So it's looking like these guys have come around here. They're going to clean up those Crusaders. That's not going to be a problem.
Shaping
No.
Oh, so he is changing the warp.
goes off on a 10.
So now he's changing
What's
to
again
the
to
tide of
stop you?
fighty fight.
Yep. And we will go to Tide of
Yeah, I think so we
Convergence.
can get the mortal wounds to maybe try and just wipe the squad of
Extra range,
mortifiers.
which is
Absolutely.
nothing anymore. But all my Nemesis weapons deal a mortal wounds on wound rolls of 6. On top of the normal damage.
Yep.
Which might help push out a bit more.
Perhaps.
But what you don't have in this situation is the rapier stratagem,
That's it. Now
which
we
is
switch.
one of the brotherhoods that you will see being played. If anything, it's the more common one. because they are deadly in combat. Deadly efficiency is the 1 CP stratagem. Use the stratagem in the fight phase when a rapier's unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. So with that, you can really chew through things, and you get those extra hits. That allows you to fish for those 6s for the mortal wounds and the auto wounding, I believe, as well on 6s.
No, it's not an additional hit roll. It's an additional hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But isn't there an auto wound as well? That I'm thinking of somewhere, but I might be wrong.
Possibly. But it's hit rolls of 6s for the mortals, is it not? Or is it wound rolls of 6s for convergence?
I'm going to double check.
No, he's gonna have to do a slightly
I am
different
going
roll
to.
violence.
No, it's wound rolls of 6, yeah.
Yeah, it is wind rolls of 6. Yeah. But it's the hit
Right.
rolls for the
Sorry.
extra.
It's the one unit you fired. The rest can all shoot still.
Yeah, brain went blur for a second there.
Hey, I mean, I also apparently just lost all the science.
Unmodified wind roll 6, mortal wound, and additionally not.
Oh, he's just now remembered his silence.
Ah, there we go.
Really want them.
Oh dear.
Though, to be fair, with what he'd taken, he wasn't really relying on them for scoring. It was more that they were going to be an annoyance and something he could have potentially placed to help bolster up the defenses on this point.
Yeah, I'll put them in, force some shots into them instead of into the Canoness or Morven Val, and otherwise they threaten to come forward onto the objective and take it with OBSEC.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all the shooting into Morven Val. Sacrosanct now dead.
There we go. 8, no AP.
IP takes 2.
2 deaths.
Oh no, this is shooting the Sacrosanct. Okay. Interesting. Does not pull from the back. Does not pull from the front to deny the, make the charge longer.
No, that's not okay.
Oh, or does?
I need to make sure I still maintain coherency.
That is interesting. Generally speaking, you want to pull from the back if you want to stay forward, or you want to pull from the front if you want to deny charge ranges.
Yeah, this is generally, I think, would be considered slightly inefficient pulling for him taking chip fire like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Stormbolters on the Rhino.
He might have a plan for why he's doing this, but personally, I'd either be taking them from the front to reduce the charge range, or from the back to make sure the charge range stays the same.
Yeah. Well, you might be thinking it doesn't really matter. They're going to go into the tank commander anyway.
Okay, let's stop all the shots.
2 up save.
So the Canoness does take a wound
It's a wound.
from the random Stormbolter from the Rhino, and then you're going to get the strike squad doing the same thing.
Also fire at her. They did not move this turn, so they get bolted this spin.
Yeah, I mean, they're within 12 anyway, I think.
So a lot of Stormbolter fire.
Well, too bad again. Don't get the fighter weapon. Instead.
But with the new Tide, they
That would
don't
be
get
horrifying.
the...
Yeah.
There's no way to buff them to give them extra AP or damage.
There we go.
It just... sadly. Does
Takes
take
a
another
little
wound.
wound.
Slowly, slowly. Plink, plink.
Okay. There's purifiers, could shoot at something.
The question here is, what do you do into that Canoness? Because next turn it might be... it's probably going into those strikes, and she will blend them.
Yeah, that's the problem. Because there really isn't anything to deal with her.
Yep.
Because she'll be moving 6, she can advance and charge.
Yep.
She doesn't need to, but 6, 3 in charge, she could advance, getting even another 1 minimum, making it an auto charge.
Yep. This might be where we see the new ward stave invul come into play.
Potentially.
These Grey Knights fire at Morven Val. He has toughness 5, so...
It is the thing about Stormbolters, there's a lot of shots, but the lack of AP is...
Yeah, it's painful.
I find it, when I'm playing Grey Knights, I always find it quite painful. And your Psy Cannons are the things that get you the most AP in the army, pretty much. Aside from on your Vendreads.
Well, and melee.
And melee, of course, I'm talking about. Nothing. That's what I mean. Here you go, you've had a whole squad shoot at Morven Val and achieve nothing.
Master crafted one.
Yeah, unfortunately, Storm Bolters into something with a 2-up save is just it's inefficient, especially when you're only wounding on 5s.
Misses
Not
everything.
the target you want.
And we got one Grey Knight will also fire into her. If the dice want to get in there.
I guess that's one of the reasons why Warpfire is playing so aggressive with the characters, is because what are you gonna do? Stormbolter me?
Like, if you don't get the charges off into those
That is a
characters, you're not hardly hurting them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
These guys left, I think.
The strike squads will fire at
You're gonna
Manticore.
shoot the Manticore,
Think so.
also not the target you really want.
10 shots.
No.
3-up save,
3s and 5.
but you don't want to shoot these Crusaders. You want to charge them.
I guess so, so they can maybe leapfrog towards the Manticore a bit further.
4, so
Yep.
5s.
Makes
Okay.
sense. Does get 3 through, so it does do 2
Actually,
wounds.
blinked 2 wounds.
Yeah, not nothing. Could have shot, if they were touching cover, could have shot the Astropath, right? It's not within 3 inches of anything.
Shooting done.
If they had line of sight.
Charges.
Yeah, if they were touching the ruins over here.
This banner
But I
goes
guess blinking a couple of wounds off the
Even
Manticore
if
is fair enough.
they were, they're still not in line of sight.
Purifiers will
Yeah,
turn
touching the ruin, if they were touching this side here and then
Just
just seeing through the
the
ruin.
rune doesn't have windows.
Oh, I'm looking top down. I can't. I assumed there were windows.
Oh, yeah,
Ignore
no,
me.
there's no windows in that rune.
Apologies.
Yep, we get 4.
So he does just charge the tank commander over there. Makes
And
sense.
see how many we can string along.
That
Yeah, he can't allow it to live.
should kill it. But you also want to. Oh, you've already moved on to the objective to take the banner down, so you don't really care about taking it so much, I guess. And if you want to kill it, you can then move back onto the objective with the consolidation. Is the theory, I
And
believe.
There we go. It's
Yep.
contested.
So it's still a contested point,
Definitely.
and you get 4 in, which is likely to kill, and then you swing back to the left. And then you expect them to die to the Saxons next turn, but it doesn't matter, they've
On
done
the other
their
side, the strike
done their
squads
job.
will charge the Crusaders.
Yep.
That's the 7-inch charge.
7. We're gonna go the long way around.
And you can see he's specifically not touching cover, so that the opponent, these mortifiers and what have you, can't shoot at them on the off chance
There we go.
they are free to shoot next turn
And
after the purifiers do it.
Mortifiers.
Now, here's a question for you people. Who do you think you should attack with first in this scenario?
11 with the 9.
Clearly the Purifier into the tank commander.
Yeah, obviously you don't want this tank commander to spew its barrel at you.
Well, it could run you over with its tracks with its whole 1 attack hitting on 6s.
So the mortifiers here are obviously the most scary thing in combat. We saw the way they blended those interceptors next turn, and Warpfire does still have the CP to interrupt.
There we go.
And with that being the case, you do not want to risk them all hitting you and doing the same thing again. The
You
question is, will the purifiers do enough damage themselves to even stop that?
Indeed, I do.
Well, 15 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on
3s as well.
3s.
Yeah.
The
Well,
helmets
So they've got a pretty decent chance.
There is a staff in there, right?
each get 3 attacks and
Yes.
1 extra.
And the staff is...
Strength plus 3, AP 1 damage too.
Okay, so same again, but just one of here.
Hitting on 3s wound.
Hey, Uzi.
This strength.
You right, buddy? Supporting Tom, are ya?
5, 3s.
3s and 3s.
That's a lot of hits.
Okay. Good hit roll. See if I can keep
Yeah,
it
the wound
full.
roll, that would be... Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Minus
By the
2.
way,
3
so,
mortals.
I'm gonna.
Your old pod mates are, yeah? I played against Tom myself when he was playing Tyranids.
On a 4-up, they'll cost more.
Oh, right. Yep.
Because there's no point in interrupting either of the other 2 combats.
Okay, so...
Mortal wounds are resolved after the attack.
What did you say?
I think mortal wounds are resolved after the attack sequence.
Yeah, indeed. They're the result after the attacks hits. It's just I want to make sure that even if I completely die, the purifiers also die.
Oh yeah. But
So, 9 wounds?
Yeah, 9 at -2
Okay.
We
Well,
get
let's
6 ups.
resolve them
and 2
first.
damage each.
2 up. Okay, it's 2 wounds.
2.
5 up field, no pain coming in big.
Did you do that?
Thanks for the tip, Chris, but
Okay.
it's a bit late for that.
Mortals.
I will. There was unfortunately this stream was going to be a different one, and then we had to change it around, so it was a little bit last minute to be set up. Entirely my fault. I take responsibility. The next week,
3.
the dice cam will be perfect, inch perfect. It's going to be beautiful.
Fire, actually. Just
Okay.
think that if I die,
That's another bring it down. Taking out the mortifier.
it is.
get to fight. So, I
Yep.
can grab 3
Appreciate that.
ones.
6 damage.
Yep.
6 damage. Does
Only
save.
takes 3.
Oof.
He takes 3.
damage.
I feel no pain. Coming in handy here.
Down to 2.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. He only loses the
2.
one.
Next die.
I would be, yeah.
No,
Bang. It's
Okay,
down.
but this is only
but now he
4
can't
damage.
lose anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
And the last one.
Yep, the last 2.
But then 3 mortal wounds as well.
No saves.
Oh yes, of course.
Fails those.
And takes a full
wounds.
4.
And then should take 3 mortal wounds. Unless
Okay.
they've done it the wrong way around.
So, I had 2 of them die.
Yep.
I think they did the
Four
mortal wounds first, but yeah.
fight.
Oof.
They both get the fight.
They both do.
Oh,
I will pay 1 command point for warding zone.
So we
unit
do
who
get
gets
to
a
see the
warding
warding stave.
They get a 5 up invul.
5 up invul coming into play,
Okay.
even though he didn't interrupt. Fascinating.
10 attacks.
This is why you always take 1 warding stave per unit, guys.
7 attacks, because still the same round that buffed them.
Do they also get rerolls if they were charged?
Also, if they were charged and if they heroic. So these specific guys can't do that.
Oof.
Okay. 8 damage.
On the 5 up.
5 ups.
Fails 5 of these, then that squad is wiped.
Yeah, this is what I was...
5 ups. Lots
That's 5 of them.
That's 5 of them. That's exact lethal with a symbol there that we're all familiar with.
They're all dead.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, no, you have 5 of them. No, 1 lives. Wait, no, sorry, no,
No,
there's
that's
5.
fine.
Thought
I
there
was
were
just
4 failures.
looking. Oh, you're gonna be in engagement either way, so yeah.
So that unit of mortifiers will get to do some damage next turn.
Need to attack.
Well, they're still going to take 3 mortal wounds.
Oh, no need for the mortal wounds.
Can he feel no pain these?
Alright. Next we'll go with the strike squad.
They forget about those?
Yep.
I think they applied them first, which they
My pure
Wow,
fist
that's
one
out of
is
sequence,
the,
but-
Yeah.
the stave.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he didn't attack with the stave as well. Mortifiers, yeah, mortifiers are terrifying and very good into Dark Eldar, for sure. So the stick hits and does 2 wounds, -1.
2 at -1, I believe. Yeah, minus 2 damage.
First one is not saved, 2 damage.
So he does actually kill that one.
So no one goes down.
Not that having the 4 up on it, needing to strike back makes a difference. It died anyway.
Last one.
We also take
But it does mean that 1 extra not shooting and attacking next turn
Alright.
means that the expected life of this strike squad over here is much bigger.
Okay.
Mirror the Crusaders.
Yes. We get 13
Now
attacks
my experience with
powers.
Crusaders is they've got a 4 up invul and
They just die.
oh no, my experience is only 1 dies when I'm shooting at them, which is really frustrating.
There we go. 4.
So they nearly didn't all die there.
Nearly,
And he's
But they did.
but they,
consolidate.
statistically they should have.
He's not the closest, is he? 5, 6, 6, 7, yeah. You'd have to get closer to the preacher. Need to move like this, they can.
And they push forward to try and get towards the Manticore. But this is where we get to see Smash Preacher in action. We tried it last time, it didn't quite work out. Strength 6. He buffs himself. +1 to the attacks, +1 to strengths and attacks. Ignore the improve the AP at the end of the fight phase. If he's engagement range, it can fight one additional time.
Then we get
Assuming
the
it doesn't die
purifiers.
from the return if it doesn't wipe the squad.
1200
No, but he does.
attacks.
I mean, I suppose his weapon skill's only 4, but
Yeah.
Hitting on 3s and wounding on 5s.
Winning on 5s. Let's see if they can actually kill the tank this time. They can't!
Oh, only 1. He's
Okay.
not gonna die, I guess. He does take the 2 wounds.
2 damage.
still alive.
Still alive.
To be honest, at this point, does it even matter? It does mean you're not getting your Sacrosanct to...
He
Shoot.
can't. He's too far away.
Yeah, I'm just surprised he didn't Overwatch with the tank commander. Like, it makes no sense to me why he didn't.
I think he was probably saving the CP for the Mortifiers here to do that back, and if he'd used the Overwatch and the Hail of Fire at the same time, which you might have wanted to do, he wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you don't use the Hail of Fire, like, I think it's still worth Overwatching here.
Yeah,
Just in the off chance you kill 1 or 2 of them,
workouts.
makes a big deal.
Although, if they whiff like this...
He can't fall back now.
True. I mean, it's still going to be able to shoot into them in melee, and it's going to be hitting in on 6s anyway now.
Yeah, it's true. It's just like Overwatch.
Morale.
There is...
The only problem is now he can't fire the demo cannon because that's
You have
blast.
his friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed.
Oh, and that's fine.
That's 8.
Just.
Fine. Okay.
Oh, hey, Dylan. Didn't see you, mate.
I think.
Yeah, I engage on 4 fronts for 3 points.
Yeah, it's very much one or the other depending on what you're expecting to face, but either way, they're just a strong unit.
Because,
I did
I know
not
Ash
kill extra
used to swear by them.
No, wait, I killed 3 more
Yeah, you got,
mortifiers, so get
3
3 more
mortifiers.
points there. And your turn.
yes. Okay.
You get 10 points for holding the 2 middle
Yep.
ones.
And I have 1 banner.
1 banner.
Okay. Really should have just done Octarian data, then I would have probably remembered my science.
Lamenting Octarius Data and Scions makes sense.
Well, you live and you learn.
Yeah, not problem down. It's only 80 points, but it still hurts to forget things like that.
And also it means that you're doubling into the use of the Scions. You know, you're getting something for them, whereas not anything. Grind has not worked out this game, and this is why, as we were saying earlier when you were talking about asking about secondaries, picking that kill secondary has not paid off in this situation.
Did he not get grind this turn?
I don't believe so.
He lost the Crusader.
And he lost the Sacrosanct.
Yeah, so that's 2.
And he
The enemy
killed...
lost 2 squads.
Purifiers.
The Interceptor squads, the Purifier squads, the Nemesis Dread Knight.
Did the Dread Knight die this? I thought he died last time. Maybe.
No, he died that turn.
So maybe he did get grind.
Did you get grind that turn? You killed 3 to 2, I believe, no?
My science died.
Oh, they count.
They're not on the table. Do they count towards it?
They count as destroyed at the end of the game.
No, we're playing with the Grand Tournament rules, so they die earlier.
I must admit, this is not a normal scenario.
No, I just completely
We've all been
forgot
there.
about them.
So apparently they die at the turn. I was not aware of that. I thought it was if they finished the game at the end of the board. But that might be. I mean, if it sounds like he's got
check
experience.
that.
Yeah, go for it.
Because that doesn't sound correct to me. It could be right, and I could be wrong.
That's a weird way to lose in grind them down, isn't it?
So
that's a new one on me.
basically guaranteed charge. Let's
Yeah.
move a bit this way, so you might be able to just stand the objective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Over here.
Yeah, he's actually correct. Any strategic reserve or reinforcement unit that has not arrived on the battlefield by the end of the battle round counts as having been
That
destroyed,
also.
Wow.
with no stipulation it counts being having destroyed at the end of the
Go
game.
this way. Then if the
Decent.
guy heads, I can
Fair
claim
play.
myself the objective again.
Yep.
It's gone back in with the Manticore. Bear in mind this is
Yeah,
the
that's-
final shooting round of the Manticore. Sorry, go on.
Okay, this astropath is
It's a
going
very
to
silly
advance.
way to lose, grind them down.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So he's trying to run the astropath up to the point. I don't know if he'll get there. I think he might. Just
It's
enough.
just.
Oof. That's good. That's what you want to do. You want to use a tiny, 15-point model in order to hold a point. Because although I imagine that Rhino, if not dealt with by the Mortifier, will just kill it. However, you're looking at potentially holding
Warpfire's gonna try and eat the Rhino.
Tomonius, the Grey Knights player, to a 5
And then Val.
here.
Let's see.
I think that's really what he wants to do here, because otherwise
Which do we want? To
he's gonna get engaged. He's I mean, I would say he's almost certainly gonna get some more points from Bring It Down.
Yep.
He's gonna be getting more points, I would imagine. Actually, is he really gonna be getting any more points from banners? Not really.
This one banner over here, but top left, this one banner maybe, this top left, this looks like a dead Strike Squad unit to me, and that banner gone. So, can't do that, that's in engagement range.
That doesn't fit behind the Rhino. So if I engage them, I have to engage them over here.
But I imagine he's gone 1.1 away from the wall, so he's unable to be charged.
You can fight through the wall.
You can.
And she's...
Yeah, but I mean, they're just far enough out of the wall that you can't fight through it. I mean,
That could be true. Well, we're just gonna go move in to fight these anyway.
alright.
Okay, and that's. Let's see, we have this.
Okay, so Morvenval
So-
has just left and gone for this. Interesting. Just saying
Yeah,
it's not worth
curious.
it. We'll go there.
I'll spend 2 turns doing that. I'm just gonna
I guess she will blow that.
put him a bit more.
I
away.
mean, we're going for grind again, and we're still holding to a 5, even if
Okay,
we don't stay on that point.
psychic.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
We'll try to smite the purifiers.
Oh my god, a
Right.
smite into the Grey Knights. And fails, because it's a 1d6, because he's rubbish.
I mean, he was
Right,
running a
you only
single
get-
d6.
Right, they only get a d6 for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not very scary.
This astropath is going to try and maelstrom.
And this will be
Rhino.
his second smite. Oh no, he's doing the Maelstrom thing, which fails.
Is 6 enough? 7. Nope, not enough.
No dice.
Oh, that was psychic phase. Shooting phase.
Excited about the Smash Breacher coming in.
Start.
Yeah, I want to see what this thing will do.
Four. Please iterate this unit of Grey Knights next to you. Spending a CP.
So he is spending the CP for +1 to hit there.
Right.
Go Storm Eagle rockets. I'll take 8.
That is an Imperial
8 shots
Guard.
on 3s.
8 shots on 3 is not bad. Bad rolling
Ooh,
though.
drops 4 of them though.
Still manages to miss half.
Rolling on 2s. 3 wounds.
3 wounds.
They are on cover.
-2, right?
-2.
2 of them are on the terrain.
I'll take the first one on the one in
2 in cover,
Couples
so you roll
on
those
the
2.
ruins, so he gets a 4-up.
Warpfire just disconnected.
I think my opponent disconnected.
Oh dear. We'll just wait for them
yeah,
to come
he
back.
Then I shall wait with the rolls.
So assuming, I mean, obviously he's not killing the squad right now, but the preacher might be able to clean it up.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going with the heavy bolters as well. That stratagem for +1 to hit if you've got the sight is really does negate the Manticore's ballistic skill issue that it has.
The Sacrosanct should be able to clear up the purifiers.
You would have thought, yeah, and then suddenly you're looking pretty safe on your 2 home objectives.
Morvenval should, in
Okay, apparently he got kicked out.
He absolutely did not.
Sweet.
I don't even have player names showing, let alone the. Sounds like it could be a server thing.
Possibly. But either way, more Valve cleaning up these the strike squad, pretty likely.
Yep.
Candace clearing up at least the majority of the squad back here is also very likely.
Yep. Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the Grey Knight's position is looking pretty
Yeah.
suspect.
You have one squad and a librarian on a point and a couple of useless rhinos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'll ask them after the game when we do the wrap-up bit. But have you felt that the sword bearers, being sword bearers, has been particularly useful in this game? I mean, we've seen the 4-up invul on a rhino that didn't get targeted, but maybe
There
because of
is.
the 4-up invul. And then we've seen the +1 to wound spell cast on the mortifiers, which was useful,
Hey, welcome back.
but only for one turn.
Okay.
Yeah,
oh,
I don't think it was if it
The
was.
saves. I am first going
I
to
don't think it was
first shot
necessarily
on the one in cover, so he gets a
used
4-up.
particularly to its best advantage, maybe.
Next one.
But I'm not so sold on that whole sword bearers anyway.
Hmm.
I don't think it's really quite as strong as rapiers.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I
wounds.
personally I think that sword bearers can be useful for certain things, but you generally want it to be on one thing. So if you're planning on taking a big flyer,
Flamer is also -1, right?
big Grey Knights flyer, what are they called?
Yeah.
Storm Eagles? What are they? Something?
Flamer's
I
also
don't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
You guys can tell me.
That's one.
That giving that a 4-up pinball now, that's a spicy, skew, disgusting
cover,
thing, which I will be disappointed if in you if you take, but
It's fine.
could be kind of interesting.
Get in. It's fine. He's fine.
Okay. Well,
Takes the bolter like a champ.
yes.
So only
Try for
one
Again, one
shot from the Preacher and only one strike
Yep.
killed by the Manticore, so
Yeah,
this is suddenly not looking as great as it did.
Guy in cover.
No.
Have to.
And remember these are strike squads, so they are OBSEC as well.
These guys are taking damage like a champ. Holy cow.
Yeah, they are.
But the question is, how smashy is a Preacher when he's annoyed? You've come into his
Mortifier is gonna shoot on the Grey Knights.
what's the word that I'm looking for? Not convocation. There's a word.
Yeah, you're no longer in the
I'm not the best with this whole religious thing. But you've come in, you've annoyed him, you pissed him off, he's angry, he's gonna come blend you twice.
Yeah, well,
hits.
he gets +1 to strength and attacks.
Another +1 to attacks as
Plus-
well to him.
Yeah.
Congregation
and also
is the
plus-
word. Thank you, Sale. Sorry, go on.
And +1 to his
One
AP.
guy goes down.
Which is already
So-
-2.
He's rerolling all hit rolls,
Each one kills a guy.
Okay.
and each one kills a guy. So he's got 5 attacks at strength
6. Oh wait, no, he's
It's
got the
plus-
+1 strength. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, so strength 7.
Strength 7. You times and then you,
At AP3 damage 2.
which is wasted if Tom uses the warding stave stratagem, but you forced out a final CP. So you feel like going full vehicle in 9th is generally not too great. So vehicle focused subfaction is a lot for it to be worth it. Yeah, I think so. I think it's two things. Full vehicle is suspect anyway in a land of Dark Lances and Las Chickens, but I think it's even worse than that for the Sword Bearers, because it's not just going vehicle and here's some benefits. It's here's some benefits for one vehicle with the invul, or here's some benefits for the vehicle shooting at one unit with the psychic power. So it's even a bit more situational than that.
Yeah, it's not army wide. It's the kind of thing that you want to take, like, maybe a couple of Nemesis Dread Knights. But I think committing to 4 of them is probably just too many of them.
Yeah, because frankly, if you've got 3 Nemesis Dread Knights shoot, particularly in an MSU world, which we're in. You got 3 things, 3 vehicles shooting at a thing. It should die anyway.
So 4
Like,
ups.
it has a special name and everything, but it's not it's
basically
not
a-
that good at defense.
So 4 ups.
Alright, that's
No
Morven
one goes
Val
down.
shooting at killing 2 strike squads, showing the full payload Manticore how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charge time.
And some unfailable charges here, which is the charges. These are the charges you want.
The Mortifier will charge the Rhino.
Alright. I will not overwatch that.
See where we want to go. We want to end up
There you go.
forest.
That's a 1 inch.
I don't think you even need to go into the cover. You're not going to get shot by anything, and you might want to run somewhere later. But maybe just in case the strikes don't get
I will
blended,
charge
just
with
save yourself from a little bit.
Manticore into the Grey Knights.
Manticore into the Grey Knights. If any of you are wondering why he's doing that, it's because 2 things. One,
Not too surprising.
he does not want the Overwatch to kill the Preacher, who is still only a toughness 3
You're not
full
overwatching
wound Preacher, and you want him to get in and start hacking, so that's why he's charged a Manticore. And also the Storm Eagle rockets, I believe they've shot their final turn, as you only get 4 rounds of shooting out of them, so there's not really much lost by going in. You'd want your heavy bolter into these guys next turn anyway. And gets another model on the point.
He's also definitely in the. Go. Let's give you some.
Wouldn't it be funny if you just crush them in the Manticore? That would be funny.
Yeah, sadly, he only has 1 CP left, and I don't think he's going to be spending on that.
It's over there.
I remember playing into... I can't remember who it was. Someone was playing... Vice Knight, I think it was? Playing Tyranids with Democarons and things, and I had a Tantalus,
Well, you,
and I made the
thank you,
4-up
Steve, for
D3 mortal wounds when you charge in to
So,
kill off the Swarm Lord in the final turn. That was amazing.
Oh, it's always fantastic when stuff like that happens.
I still lost, but it was well worth it.
I won a game because I managed to get an assassin, the final 3 assassinate points by killing the old Alpha League TO's Demon Prince with my Apothecary.
Feature, he might be better.
Nice.
He hits on 4s, but he's a zealot.
Yeah, he is a zealot.
Oh, here we go. This is the Preacher. Going first, as you'd expect.
Yeah, he hits
So he hits on 4, so full rerolls. Conversion, 3.
Wasn't sure if I was confusing
Okay.
him. Missionary. Okay, well, 3 hits.
Wounding
Strength
on
6.
3s.
So
Does fail to wound twice. Oh,
That's
that's...
not what he wants to
Nope.
see.
for him.
You wanted to kill at least 2 so he doesn't likely die next.
It's minus 3. So it's actually a 6 of armor save.
How is it minus 3?
He has the buff active.
Oh, right.
So-
Okay. Well, it still failed, so.
Heals 1.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He was really needing to wipe this. Well, not needing to, but really wanted to wipe
If there
this
were
squad
1
this
or
turn.
2 left, that second activation should really do it without the risk of them killing him in return, but that is now the risk.
Says.
Nope.
Okay.
Did we not charge the Sacrosanct in?
The Mortifier.
Quick question. Did you want to sacrifice?
Reads my mind.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Hope you guys can hear that. Yeah, I had exactly the same thought. Why aren't these Sacrosancts murdering Grey Knights at the minute?
Yeah, and good sportsmanship being shown there, being reminding your opponent of something he may have forgotten, especially at the end of a long game. Like, you don't ever want to win. At least I don't ever want to win by making my opponent forget things.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's already lost 2 units of Scions.
Well,
But there was no way
No
you could
worries.
get them in
Okay,
at that point. So yeah, no, great sportsmanship,
6
and you love to
attacks
see it.
from the fire.
Yes.
All hits.
What?
Wounding on 3s.
Yep.
12 wounds. AP minus 4.
As those go straight through.
Okay, and then does it
Okay.
So
explode?
it's absolutely destroyed this Rhino.
Let's see.
But it does explode!
He does explode.
Okay. Might take
3 mortals could take out the Mortifier.
Get a point for bring it down.
No, 2.
Ah.
Takes 2.
Or does it?
It takes two. Oh yeah, of course with the Feel No Pain it was still possible, but that would have been great.
Let's move closer there. Okay. Canoness. 6 attacks.
We go to the Canoness. So
right.
this is where,
I will play my last command.
yes,
for another
warding
warning
zone with the staves, last command point, well worth doing just to stop her.
You get 2
The Canoness by base has 4 attacks, then 1 extra from Bloody Rose, and 1 extra from Blazing Ire, the Warlord trait.
Okay, right. Forgot Bloody Rose. Yep, go for it.
Those miss. These all hit.
On 3s.
So 4 saves.
So, 4 wounds.
Alright, 5 up.
They're all AP -4, so just invulnerable
5 up
saves.
invul coming in clutch here. Let's see. He saves only
saves
1,
one.
but that is 1 on the point, and that it does keep the point for him and keep the banner up.
Though losing 3 of them this turn, or did he lose 4?
He
Did
lost
he lose 1 to
4.
shooting?
He lost 1 to shooting, yes.
So he could technically run from morale here.
Yeah, absolutely, it's true. Buddha's Cookie, the Grey Knights are purified, so they are not troops, so they are not obsec. So Sisters holds it at the moment, and then will hold it when the Grey Knights get butchered,
Well,
which is imminent.
moving along. We'll go
But first, Morven Val.
Yep.
5 attacks of the 8.
Okay.
So using the lunging strike profile.
All hits.
Yep, looks like.
Roll the 1.
Just
Go.
make sure that everything that can
Lots of 4s
does
there.
hit does. Oof.
No, wipes the squad.
With the 4 up invul, that's all 3 of them dead. Yep,
There's 3 left. So,
as you'd expect.
oh yeah, the Sanctuary. That was the
Yeah,
fourth
that was a
thing,
sanctuary
actually.
token.
Now the other thing to think about here is if you hadn't have taken the
Okay.
2 astropaths, 30 points, you would have been able to take aboard the witch, and you would be getting 15 points on that right now.
Yep. And those Ashbats haven't really done a lot this game. And even I think in the best of times,
Serious, so we'll ignore
they're
that.
not doing
7
that
attacks.
much.
Yeah.
3 attacks each. 21.
Oh boy.
I think that especially with Wrath of Magnus now being a thing, unless your army needs a psyker to function, you don't take a psyker.
Yeah, I agree, for sure. For those of you who don't know, this is the psychic secondary that Thousand Suns have, where if the opponent's opposing army has a psyker, and you kill more models in the psychic phase than they do, you get 3 victory points. And bearing in mind that your whole army will be killing things in the psychic phase for at least 4 turns, pretty much every game, that is a lot of guaranteed points if they have a psyker. If they're full psychers, they'll struggle to deal as much mortal wounds. If it's one buff psyker, like your librarian or something, then you by taking that 1 unit, you should be aware that going into Thousand Suns, you're giving them a very good secondary choice. So maybe think about if you were taking a psyker for denies, or taking an Inquisitor, as some people have done, Greyfax for the increased denies or whatever. Maybe think a Calexis instead. Something to consider.
Okay, so as a reminder, at the end of the turn, the creature gets to fight again.
So those purifiers did get wiped out by the Croissants, as we expected. And that tank commander has somehow survived this game.
I mean, utterly baffling, really.
7 attacks with the
Yeah.
halberds.
It survived. It's not going to do anything for the rest of the game, but it has survived.
Bring it down points.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all hits with the Grey Knights. 2s to wound.
6 at your invul.
And that is a dead preacher.
It's 2 damage each.
Yeah, well,
So we were excited about the Smash Preacher, but unfortunately that was a bit of a
Yeah, he kind of
letdown.
let us down.
And then this 1 Grey Knight
And with-
gets to try
And with
and
this guy's surviving up here, being
Yes,
huge,
3
that would be
attacks.
10 primary points as opposed to the 5 we were concerned about.
Force.
In fact,
I
we're
might
looking at
wanna
15,
see how it goes.
maybe.
right? 1, 2, 3 points
Force.
to 2,
Nope, never.
because he abandoned this point. And the tank commander does get a medal.
Yeah.
It's going to be feted in the guard and be given an even bigger tank.
Grey Knight needs
you control
leadership.
3
Leadership.
objectives.
Well,
first
not
leadership.
necessarily. Leadership, he
First
lost
leadership.
4 of his... I think he lost his 4 guys this turn.
Yeah, he lost
Yeah,
4
he
guys
lost
this turn.
4
Yeah.
this turn.
So 5 or 6 he runs.
Oh.
Actually,
On,
got leadership
on
7.
4 as
Wow.
well. Yeah, they've only got leadership 7.
Yeah.
Oh, they're only leadership 7. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the Justicar is leadership 8. I had to kill him to stay on the point.
Yep.
So 50-50.
Oh, he runs
He
away.
runs. That's the 15. Oof, he needed that. That takes the banner away as well.
2 guys, and there's
2, and the Justicar is still
alive.
Apologies for the...
They're fine. Alright.
Yep.
I still hold 2.
Indeed.
So that's 10, at least. But going for second, you quite often want to... if you're going second, you want to make up for the going second by pushing out late game and getting 15
These
on
guys.
the primary later on.
He killed the Rhino for 1 point for
That
bringing it down.
I don't
doesn't
see how
look
it gets
likely
here.
in that game, in this game exactly, because of just the state of the board. So the question
4
is,
squads for grinding down.
would he have been able to get the 15 there to equal Warpfire's 15 in round 3?
Might find
And
out
not
again.
getting that,
think-
very sad.
I don't think I'm going to get... Okay. Let's see.
That banner is gone.
So, what we're going to see... That Mortifier is going to probably try and come back, try and deal with these Grey Knights.
Yep.
1 point for raise the banner because you pulled this one down at the end of the phase.
These sections are probably just going to go and hide in this building again. No point. They're not getting across the map, so there's no point for them to do anything.
Hmm.
Rhino might try and make a Hail Mary play to try and kill that tank commander.
Banner.
A little bit
Hmm.
harder for you to get the
Morven might come back to try and kill that, as opposed to trying going for this the strike team back here.
Mm,
Also, how many units were lost for the
Librarian is gonna start
Grey Knights this turn?
running.
1, the Rhino was lost, so that's 2,
Can you see the cannons?
3 with the squad over here, 4 with the squad
See her
Yeah.
here.
between
Yeah.
this- through this
They're not going to equal that.
I don't see how they do.
Great, the strike squad can stay there.
Okay, they might get the Manticore. I think that's fairly likely.
I don't know.
These Grey Knights.
They haven't charged. No, it's just baked into their profile though. 3.
Yeah, they don't have
So they don't have to worry about that anymore. And you got the Justicar.
and every hit that goes in is it's 5 up info or 5 up save.
Yeah, 5 up. And then let's not forget the Mortals.
But they are only wounding on 5s.
Well, that's all I have left on the board, so
So no, I don't think it's actually that likely that they kill the Manticore. Morven can easily come out and kill that Rhino next turn.
But if Val kills the Marine, she pulls the banner. No, she doesn't, actually, unless she takes the point. I'm assuming that you mean... Sorry, maybe I'm being pedant here. Pedantic. If she moves up there and then does it, yes, because she's on the point with shooting. But if she was to move up this way and then kill them, then no. Just one of those things. Yeah, in the fight, for sure, when you flip an objective. But
I actually don't think it's worthwhile going after those Grey Knights.
Librarian
I think you go after the Rhino as a freer kill.
will come.
yeah, I think you do as well. It gets you grind them down. The 1 point on the banner is not as important as 2 points for grind them down for you. You hold that point anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, for bringing it down specifically, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
go
I would
ahead.
do.
Alright, and I will put the Sanctuary on.
So Sanctuary's gone off.
Yeah, that's a big decision. If he puts it on the Rhino,
Now the thing to bear in
then
mind...
that might...
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, if he puts it on the Rhino, that might change the decision making here.
Put it on the
Yeah,
Rhino.
absolutely. I was going to say, by the way, the Sword Bearer's 4 up on the vehicle means that you can get 2 big flyers and give them 4 up impulse. Isn't that exciting? Someone's going to do it.
we'll try and smite. Again.
So we're smiting with the librarian. Goes off.
Goes off.
That does not go off.
You may as well try and deny that with Morven.
Yeah, because there's not much else that's going to
This
happen.
Grey Knight squad will hammer hand, just in case. It also does not
Didn't
go
hammer
off.
hand, as well
Did
as.
smite? Did you try and do a smite beforehand?
That's psychic.
I am not aware. Must have done with these guys.
Those guys are dead.
Can't
No,
see.
over here,
Just
these
fire
Grey
everything
Knights.
into Morphin Fall.
They're engaged in melee.
Yeah, so you can smite as long as you don't fall back.
8 shots.
Oh, that's true.
So he must have tried.
Yep, hitting on 4s.
I always forget you can cast when you're in combat.
Let's stop the long run.
Just have to concentrate really hard while also parrying and slashing. It's easy, it's fine.
2, no AP.
2 saves. Saved.
So Morven Valor's fine.
The
Character
Librarian will fire into the Canoness.
Okay.
See if we can.
You want to kill the Canoness here because you don't want the Canoness jumping behind the cover next turn, out of line of sight, and then raising a banner just to get that extra point for the end of game. 3 wounds.
Okay.
Good killer.
Ooh, ooh, that was close.
Is there
Da,
anything
da,
else that could threaten the Canoness? These guys are out of range.
Yep.
So the answer
That's
is no.
literally the only thing.
Let's see, there is still a battle round 5, but at that point she literally doesn't matter. So I'll just take the 2 wounds.
I guess. Debating whether to spend the CP to save it.
They can fire.
2 Thunderhawks.
They
Yeah,
can
2 Thunderhawks would be a lot of fun with 4 up involves.
That's the shooting.
Do they do enough shooting to be worth it though? That's the question.
No.
Yeah. All about fire raptors, right?
Ansberg will go first.
Glarg knows what I mean.
And, we'll
And
miss
Nico. Ran into his fire raptor.
Yep, we've got
Disgusting.
attacks.
There's a stick man in there, so you'll need to.
Oh yeah, the warning save is still in there. Whoops.
Oh, so the stave actually gives
So
you the +3,
separately.
which doesn't actually make a difference to the wound roll. You're still winning on 5s, but the -1 AP means it's slightly less likely to go through the armor here. And they don't wound anyway.
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
Stave goes on 3s and wounding on 4s.
Oh no, the Manticore's only strength 7, so yeah, it does wound on 4s. It does make a difference. Well, not with that roll.
1.
And that's a mortal wound as well, right?
Okay.
That should be mortal wound as well.
Saved.
It's fine.
Guys, is that a mortal wound as well with the Tidal Convergence? Not that it makes much of a difference, but you got him!
Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, GK don't get raptors.
Okay. That's fighting. No morale.
Nope.
I. Or no points for
I
engage.
score grind them down.
Yep.
You score
Yep.
engage on all fronts. You
No.
have
2.
1, 2.
Yep,
yeah.
no engage.
Okay.
And back to you.
Yes.
You hold 3.
So 10 points on the primary. Not that it makes a difference because of... And does get no points for banners. The holding... getting 15 here is irrelevant. You can only score a maximum of 45 points on the primary anyway, and that turn to 15 means that all you needed was the 10 here.
Yeah. And let's just climb to the other side here.
Fair enough.
One hand, I really want to do this, so I can.
Sorry guys, when I do the little zoom out thing, it's because I'm just checking the scores to update them on the
Stand on the objective.
thing. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but
maybe you don't.
it's kind of a clean up now. The Sacristans move forward. They don't really need to do anything, but getting some extra attacks into the Rhino could kill it.
The tank commander is going to get a CP for Relentless.
Which means it counts as top brackets? Or
So top bracket tank commander now.
He's just fine.
Nothing has gone wrong. Leaving
Absolutely just
leaving that tank commander on 1 wound
totally not on
turned
fire,
out to be
really
huge
tough.
because he's now Gonna get some shots on that rhino. How'd you forget you can only max priming to 45? Hey, it's an easy thing to forget. Don't worry about it. But it's why that getting that 5, that early 15 or what have you is huge if you ever can.
She does get to see around the corner.
Particularly if you've got first turn.
She's on the objective.
See, how many do I see actually? Oh right, I could.
You
Yeah, I
can
can see them
shoot
all.
from the spear so you can see them all.
Yeah, I can see them all. Okay.
So is Morven Val on the objective there?
Let's see. If I kill them all, I do destroy the flag.
She is on the objective. Okay, cool. So she's going to try and wipe them out and then profit.
That.
Manticle's going to fire its heavy bolters into combat, and I imagine you'll try and get them all to fire around, but that's going to be a long charge.
Yeah. Probably just disengage with the Manticore.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm back.
No problem at all.
Yeah, especially as you actually want to kill it. So, 5.
You just want to make sure that you don't give an easy 15. So the temptation is to move off things and say, right, well, I've got all my primary, I'm going to move everything off and collapse and do whatever I can. But you don't want to, two things, you don't want to give an easy 15 to your opponent going into their final one, and also you want to be raising some banners. These characters should be raising banners, but don't appear to be. But that's what you want.
But that happens at the end of the movement phase, so you might just declare that then.
Okay.
No, he's doing psychic phase things now.
Oh, okay.
Well,
so
just
yes,
it's been a long game, so
yeah.
that
In an ideal world, that's a banner. That's a banner.
yeah. Don't thing to remember here, guys. When you do have banners, you do score it at the end of the game as well, because obviously you don't score it on that first battle round. So if you have got a character, particularly one that can move quickly, and obviously it doesn't advance because you can't do an action after advancing, you do want to get onto those points at the end and just chuck up a cheeky flag, get you an extra point. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's gonna, if he wanted to, he could get an additional 3 victory points from banners this turn.
Exactly. Those sacrosanct, okay, they're going for the charge, but what they could be doing is just raising a flag there, and then you got, as you say, 3. It's pretty good.
Should have moved forward to try.
So just to let you know, this tank commander did the act on top bracket stratagem. So him surviving turned out to be pretty good. And going into the librarian, 7 shots, exactly average.
7 shots.
You only need 1 to go through and a 5.
4 hits.
Only 2 wounds.
2 wounds.
Alright.
I would have gone for the
6
rhino.
hits.
Oh, fails both.
He takes them both. Not gonna reroll that.
Okay.
Takes
6 damage.
6 damage.
Oh, he did go for the rhino. Okay, he did say librarian. Whew, sorry, I do apologise. That's absolutely the right call, and that's why there was no invul there. That was confusing. So that rhino is still standing. He is going for everything here. So Val's going to try and take out those strikes, take the objective, kill the banner, and then the Sacristans are going into the rhino, trying to kill that, get the points to bring it down, etc. So he could have been more conservative and said, well, actually, I got to choose one or the other, and I'm going to choose this rhino, and I'm
He has a
definitely going to
5
kill it.
infall.
So this is a bit more risky, but it has the upside of
Oh, 4 up.
covering everything here.
Okay. 4 up.
Yeah, I mean,
Same
if he's able to pull it off, it's going to be good. Because if he can leave the opponent with just that strike squad on the back point over there, because that mortifier's not getting around to kill it, and the librarian, that means he's going to be getting 5 on his final turn. There's nothing else he can do.
Yep.
Might be able to kill him. Might not.
But this mortifier's charge is not, correct me if I'm wrong, they can't go through ruins.
I believe so. They are vehicles, I believe.
Yeah. So this is the thing.
That's
One of the
fine.
important things in this type of game, in a competitive game, is you want to look at how do I win, how do I lose, and you can say, well, actually, it doesn't matter if I only get 6 points next turn. If my opponent gets 2, I'm going to win, and that's easier to do. So it's worth doing that. Or you can go big, which is cool.
-1. Yep.
So 3 up here for the librarian to survive, and he's fine.
You're fine. That was my shooting phase.
I think the Sacristans can still fire their pistols.
Yeah.
Want to?
I'm not gonna bother.
Okay.
Just gonna charge.
Fair enough.
Sacristans.
Here we go.
Sacristans into the
Fails.
Rhino.
You need a 7.
Is not enough.
I need a bit more. I'll spend my CP on that then.
That's a 7. That's just about
Just
it.
enough.
Oof. This is the thing, you know, when you do go for that, I'm going to get everything all over the place. You do risk failing that one charge or that shooting in that in one of the
Get one
situations and not getting
objective
it.
with all of them.
You're right.
Senapaka, how do you play this game? Have you got
Okay.
several hours?
The long
or
distance
days.
running around charge of the Mortifier.
Aside from that, the best way to get into this game, if you're looking at it and you're thinking this seems like an interesting tactical war game,
Very nice.
then the best thing to do is to join the TTSWH40k Discord. And there's some streams that happen, which are tutelage streams. You can join them or watch them to teach you the game. There's people who'll be there helping you. There's a mentor program. You can look for games with friends or ask to be shown things. There's a lot of great people who will help show you how to play. That's the best place to go. More than happy to send you a link if you're interested.
Sure, that's actually it. So, with that, we're gonna go to combat. Val is just gonna attack these 3 guys.
So Val did get in. That's pretty good. She will most likely kill them.
Alright, I am gonna spend 1 command point.
And we get the final warding zone.
Okay.
Getting the value for those.
All wound.
Yep.
2 mortals as well. 6 are
Right.
mortals.
They have a 5 of feel no pain against that, so we'll do that
Okay.
after. 5 ups. Well, they're dead anyway.
So
Okay,
does
yeah.
manage to wipe the squad, takes the banner off,
Womp womp.
and loses the point.
Stand like that. My objective. My objective.
Morven Val proving her worth there.
Then here.
And then the Sacrosancts coming up to start stabbing at the Rhino with their spears. Should be able to get all of them into combat here.
Yeah, at least as you'll be able to get enough of them in.
They all get
Gonna go to sleep because it's 11:30 here in the Netherlands. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, that's fair. I'm only an hour behind you. But that Discord channel, if you have Discord, there's a lot of people there. You can do it at any point in time. Goodbye and good night.
Hitting on 3s.
Okay,
Wounding on
5s to
5s.
wound. That's a good wound roll.
18
Considering the
minus
-2,
Right.
that's going to be a
5 armor save,
4 pinball because of
got 4
Sanctuary.
pinball,
Takes 3 and goes down.
3.
2. That's
No, it's 2 damage each.
3. So that's 6
So
damage.
overextending,
Dead.
but
How much?
or say overextending. Definitely extending, maybe not over, but does pay off. Manages to flip the objective over here, flip the objective over here, get the points for bring it down. It's all come up Warpfire.
Well, I got 2
Yeah,
kills
he's gonna
this
grind them
time.
down. He's gonna get
Yep.
all the bring it down points he could possibly
These
get,
guys, this thing.
and
Yeah, that's it. I didn't have much more on the field.
Okay. 2 squads.
if you just raise those 2 banners over here,
Okay, well, your turn.
that would have maxed out his potential points.
I think we can
Yep.
call it there. I am gonna get probably 5 points for this, and that's gonna be it. I think. Don't think I'm gonna kill much. I might kill the Mortifier. Gives me 1 more point for bringing it down, but it's not enough.
Alright,
Well, GG.
good game.
That's a fantastic. That was a fantastic game, guys. Really entertaining. Do you guys want to jump into Discord and talk it out? Unmute and deafen. Do a bit post game. Right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. And now you're back to real people volume.
Yeah,
Stream, let me know if it's
Yes.
all good. So, I mean, fantastic game. Thanks a lot. I had a lot of fun there. A lot of interesting things. If I could just ask at the start, the thing that seemed to shape this was that shot into the Grandmaster Dread Knight, who then bounded forward with his redeploy. Was it always your plan to get into his face, Tom, early on, or was it just what was the thinking behind that?
I wanted to get early into his face and take like his big backline guns, at least like either tie them up or actually take them out, which partially worked. I killed one of them.
Yeah, that tank commander surviving to the end of the game. No one saw that coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, didn't expect that.
Yeah, and then
But I do think I played a bit too aggressive in the first turn there, because it allowed
Yeah.
for a big countercharge.
I had a lot of countercharging there. Yeah,
yeah. So
that,
I mean,
that was.
do you think you maybe if you were doing it again, you wouldn't commit one of the Dread Knights or Drago there, or you'd just do two units? What do you think? Just out of interest.
I think I might not even go in that turn yet. I'd first of all like hide the Dread Knight that was really exposed here at on my left flank. Hide him better so he didn't get shot off the board turn 1.
Yep.
And I'd try to shoot him out a bit more first.
Yeah, whittle them down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It is tough because obviously you've got the 24-inch range, and then on the other hand, you
Yeah.
have tank commanders with 30-inch range because of spotter details.
30 inches, yeah.
Yeah, well, that made a big difference. Obviously, that first round, getting that other Dread Knight to
Yep.
1 wound, because without that,
Indeed. Yeah. Removing one, that was. I sort of expected that with the max shots, but having 1 wound remaining after a single D6 shots,
yeah,
that was lucky.
that was pretty damn good. And then obviously coming in, I'm interested also. Grey Knight's new codex, so I'm kind of asking questions about that. The sword bearers thing, you got the 4-up invul on the Rhino first turn. Obviously, they weren't going to shoot it because you then chucked everything into his face, or I guess you had decided that at that point in time. But you used the psychic power on the mortifiers, which was pretty good, it seems. But do you feel like it gave you enough with the army this game, or is it just a circumstance that meant that you might not have got as much as you'd hoped out of the
I
Brotherhood?
think it was also circumstance because turn 2 most of my vehicles were down, so it didn't its psychic power didn't do much anymore because it's an extra damage, but only it's +1 to wound, but only when my vehicles shoot at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna spending the psychic power to have my storm bolters wounds have a +1 to wound. That's not really.
Yeah, not really 100% kind of worth it. Yeah, that's entirely fair.
Yeah.
Oh hey, Arrow.
Oh hey, Arrow, welcome.
Oh
How you
hey.
doing, man? And to go into the Sisters Astra Miratarum list, very interesting list. I guess there's a lot of things we could talk about here, but I'm gonna immediately jump to the Smash Preacher, who we were excited about all game, and then he came in and it didn't quite go as planned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I was thinking if maybe if he got them down to 1 or 2 and then been able to fight that second time without dying.
Yeah. Honestly, it's probably a wasted CP. Like the 30 points for himself is just fine. He's actually he's slightly more expensive than the 2 Crusaders, but he's actually more resilient at 4 wounds with a 4-up invul save instead of 2 wounds at a 4-up invul save.
Yeah, for 2 extra points.
Yeah, and you get the war hymns on top, so
you get the war hymns.
Yeah.
You get a 1-shot flamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently.
He wasn't angry enough. That was the thing. I think he knew that the Grey Knights were kind of pious, so he wasn't really up for it.
Really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's just like for the points, he's fine. Maybe the extra CP for the relics not worth it, but points, Preacher's just fine.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. How do you to go back to Grey Knights? How do you feel the different units? I don't know if you've played much with Grey Knights since the new codex, but how are you feeling about the different units? Obviously, a lot of the things that I've seen online are we're talking rapiers, we're talking lots of interceptors and things like that. I don't know if you've played with the Dread Knights and Purifiers before, but how did you feel they kind of performed?
Well, the Dread Knights got killed rather quickly, but from previous games, I know they can punch really hard if you get some strategies in them. I have the +1 to wound psychic phase. I can I have a stratagem that I can they can target something, and they also get a +1 to hit. Everything gets a +1 to hit on it.
Yep.
I can give them extra damage and stuff. So with enough with all the buffs that I can dish out for them, they get really strong. In this match, it wasn't really visible, but I think they're very good anti-tank. If not like Melta level anti-tank, but
Yep.
you can't really get that in Grey Knights.
No.
Best you have are the side cannons, so
Yeah.
it's the best anti-tank you got. I really like the strike squads because they are, for what they are pretty cheap. Once like an MSU squad of strike of Grey Knights is 110 points,
which is, for what they bring, pretty absurd.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Definitely got to agree with that. If you compare
Like, you compare that to like a standard intercessor squad, which is what, also 110.
Yeah, and these guys got Stormbolters. They got either the sword, the halberd, the stave, the falchions.
Yeah, that one stave in each squad with the 5 up, if you need it to do something. It did save. What was that? That was it that bottom squad there? A couple of saves there, or nearly saved the people against the Canoness as well. Well, it would have done if you hadn't rolled them around. By the way, I just want to throw it out there, guys in chat. Thanks for watching. Do put forward any questions that you guys had for either of the players while we're here. I've got some more, but I just want to throw that out there in case anyone's got any questions. Do you feel like having just one unit of interceptors is enough, or you would want to take more?
I've been thinking about maybe getting a second squad because, as you saw in the game, I like the mobility. Even you don't need to use Gate of Infinity or Teleport Shunt on them, and they can still like go up the board really fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to answer Ivor's question,
yeah, go on.
Grey Knights are decent. I wouldn't say they're like top tier, but they're definitely not, bottom of the barrel where they've been for quite a while.
They're fine. They're pretty good.
Well, we got to see one of the interesting things, which is I think a lot of people were disappointed by some of the bits and pieces in the codex. One of the things that people were concerned about was the losing the +1 to cast. But the 5-up Feel No Pain Against Mortal Wounds is not bad. You saw it there actually with the explosion of the tank commander. So explosions, you got Dominion squads, more things doing mortal wounds in combat and in shooting these days. It's a pretty useful thing to have, right?
Yeah, and against a lot of the top tier armies who really like dishing out mortal wounds, it gives them a lot of extra resilience.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely does.
For sure. I was going to ask, Warpfire, your list. I mean, is this a list concept that you've kind of come up with and you want to see how it did, or are you something you're tinkering with competitively, or?
That is a list I'm actually also just building.
Yeah.
It's like many iterations deep. It started out as a pure guard army, but there's just so much charging. So I need counterpunch, and I like the Paragon models.
Yeah.
The rules of them are not that great, so I'm running them as mortifiers.
Yeah. Which are terrifying in combat. You saw it in this. Whenever they touch, they picked up.
And Sacrosanths also look nice.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They hit well as well.
More bang for their buck, really. I guess cost efficiency. We've got a question from Diamond Boots. Opinions on the redeploy. Was the aggressive use of it this game worth it?
On reflection, probably not. It was like, oh right, that was a thing. That was like worrying, but because they're all in one position, and well, effectively, you just took out a tank commander, and then I got to murder everything there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the shooting of the mortifiers, but maybe could have done from further back. I was going to ask, actually, in your list, the 2 astropaths, do you feel that they're worthwhile in the current meta where you have Grey Knights, who it then stops you taking aboard a witch, and you have Thousand Sons who can take Wrath of Magnus into you?
So the astropaths are there to try and do what's it called again? Interrogate.
Oh, I see. Okay, so they're there for
as an objective
as well. Give you that option.
But with the Grey Knights +1 to deny, I was entirely comfortable taking that.
Sure.
But I mean,
And
even into Thousand Suns, which is the other army that you're going to want to do that to, they have a 1 CP stratagem to have a 3d6 deny.
yeah, well, don't know much about the Thousand Suns Grey Knights meta, but
Maybe something to
they're
be
they're
moving
always
on.
just decent, and well, I am not that great at picking secondary objectives. Should have definitely stuck to Octarius data instead of raise the banners, though.
Yeah, with how aggressive Tom was there.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I was going to so we got another question from chat. What's the difference between the two types of mortifiers and penitent engines? Is that right?
Yeah, well, penitent engines are forced to take heavy flamers, so they're not allowed to take the heavy bolters. They get to advance and shoot, but they also don't have an anchorite, so they don't have the 3-up save mortifier.
Yeah. So these guys just do
so they're the more, I suppose they're the more aggressive charging in your face variant, but I actually also like the fact that each of the mortifiers brings 2 heavy bolters.
Yeah, the amount of AP -1/2 damage that you can throw 36 inches downfield means that you're not useless from distance, and people do not want to get close to you either, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. I don't know if you've got any questions, Ryan.
No, not really. I think we've covered most of it.
Yeah, it's cool. Will you be taking a Swordbearers detachment in the next Alpha League, Tom?
It's a likely chance, yeah.
Awesome.
I like the play of Grey Knights, so.
Great to hear. I'm glad to hear it. I hope I don't run into you with my T-Suns.
Yeah, me neither.
That is, I have had a friendly match with Thousand Suns, and my opponent did say it is an absolute pain to play against Grey Knights as Thousand Suns.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're an army that's kind of dedicated to countering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I do hope at some point that I do get to play against demons, because then I get to use my Tide of Banishment, which you never use at any other point.
Yeah.
Well, demons have stayed pretty popular throughout all the seasons of Alpha.
That is true.
Yeah,
but
so
I don't think I've played against one in my pod before.
Well, you never know. They're all going to be random this time, so anything could happen.
That's true.
Warpfire, are you going to be in Alpha League this next season?
Probably not. Regular times.
Yeah.
They're going to probably overlap with other things I need to do.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, thank you for joining us on the show match, particularly late notice. Really appreciate that. It's been a cracking game, guys. A lot of fun to see and speculate and see what happens. So and check out the new army, and what is essentially a new army, because it's got guard and sisters, which is not a combo I've seen before, at least. So very cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna say thanks, and unless anyone else has got anything they particularly would like to say or plug, then that might be it for us tonight.
Not specifically.
Sounds.
You'll see me around in the Alpha Chat channels every now and again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if people like to play games, I am available most nights because I am bored and I live alone.
Fair, and an inviting invitation. I know we played before in some kind of game somewhere, but
I do believe so. Yes.
So thank you very much, Tomonius and Warpfire. That was a fantastic game. Thanks a lot, Orion, for co-casting again and judging. Amazing. It's been an absolute blast, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the future. Thanks for watching.
Yep. See you around.
Cheers, everyone.
Have a nice evening.
Goodbye.